Well, there we go. You're on live.
And we're back. A few technical issues. Try to say difficulties and issues at the same time right there. Ended up with issues. My mouth working about as good as our internet down here in the basement. The second pick is in. No surprises. We just alluded to it before. Aidan Hutchinson. He was runner-up in the Heisman, which is pretty elite out of a defensive end. 14 sacks last year in 2021 was a school record for the Michigan Wolverines. A lot of rhetoric around him staying in his home state and going to play for the Lions. Only the third defensive player ever to finish as a runner-up for the Heisman Trophy. A lot of comparisons to the Bosa brothers, Sean. Is that fair, or do you think Aidan Hutchinson could perhaps be better than Joey and Nick Bosa?
He has all the measurables. They're all very comparable, which is what you're looking for. Ridiculous three-cone time for him. I think it was 6.73, and I put it in there that Von was 6'7". The Bosa brothers were mid... not the Bosa brothers, the Watt brothers I put in there as well.
Yeah, you got JJ Watt at 6'8" and TJ at 6'7". So Aidan Hutchinson's three-cone better than both the Watt brothers at 6'7" and just a touch behind Von Miller. The thing I suppose that maybe disappointed a little bit was that 40 time of 4.74.
So I think the big difference between him and the Bosa brothers is he is slightly taller and he looks a little bit more gainly in the way he runs, like in a straight line. But, hey, if you're turning the edge, trying to get to the corner to rush the quarterback, you don't need to run in a straight line. And as long as you're doing that in a hurry, it doesn't matter.
And that's the thing that we always talk about it, but we haven't spoken about it on this episode just yet. How functional is the 40-yard dash for a player like a defensive end? Wide receiver, that's a deep threat. Yeah, okay, I can see how a 40-yard dash would be, important. I think, having that quickness off the line, the agility, something that is maybe better measured by a three-cone drill, in which Aidan's numbers were exceptional, is maybe a better indicator of a defensive end's speed/quickness rather than that top-end 40-yard time.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why we talk about the three-cone. That's why we bring it up, because that's... You're looking for a sub-7 for a pass rusher. It's kind of the elite kind of agility numbers you're looking for. And, if you tick that box, you then go look at the tape. And he's got all the production, 14 sacks this year. He constantly hitting the quarterback. Definitely on a very good Michigan defense. The face, the guy that you always see on the tape. I think, he's got the moves, constant pressure. He's going to be good. I think Lions, they've got a nice, good piece there, and I think he fits that stereotypical, not stereotype, the type of player that the Lions will like with what Dan Campbell is doing there as the head coach, like hard-nosed, blue-collar kind of player. So, yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, like I said before, I thought that Aidan Hutchinson was the best player in this draft class. The late bolt by Trayvon Walker was interesting, but I think the Lions have got the right guy in Aidan Hutchinson. Now, Goodell back on the stand. These picks are coming in quickly.
Oh, Stingley.
Okay.
Wow.
Derek Stingley. All right, we've got our first... surprise. That's a pretty big surprise, I think.
I thought Sauce here. So Stingley actually, thinking of guys that had risen really late, Stingley, there had been a lot of talk about him recently. His 2021 tape is average. He was hurt a lot, but then they go back and they look at the 2020 tape, and he was absolutely elite. So teams are kind of thinking of, that's potentially what I'm getting is the 2020 version, and his measurables were very good. I think he ran a 4.38 from memory.
Yes, so unofficial time I think there is 4.37, and then the official time 4.44 is what I've got from our notes. He tore a ligament in his foot and missed 3 games last year at LSU. So interesting that you brought up, the scouts obviously going over that tape from 2020 and not saying that he was bad by any means last year, just missed that little bit of time and possibly his 2020 year was better. He was first in the SEC team selection. Probably the first surprise here. Now, we were talking before the show about what do the Texans do here, because even outside of, the Jags and the Lions that have drafted before them, their draft needs essentially are the whole team. There's nowhere where you go outside of Laramie Tunsil, who is an elite talent in the NFL.
Yep.
There's no one really on that Texan side where you say, oh, this is an elite, top 20, top 30 guy in the NFL.
I think I had for needs for them was like, whether you're happy with Mills, you potentially need a quarterback, probably need running backs because they had 1,000 last year. Then they had... Cooks is probably the only wide receiver. Tight ends, tight end's not going to go this way. Inside offensive lineman, I thought was maybe an issue. And then I've just got defense.
The whole defense.
Anything on defense. So I thought Sauce probably made sense. He had excellent tape this year. He's had ridiculous numbers, great length, not as quick as Stingley, but also still elite speed, I think. It's a 4.41. Like we're talking 0.04 of a second difference in speed. So the
big difference, I suppose, is the size.
I think Jets will take Sauce now and be really, really happy if that's the case. Because they could add a corner. They definitely needed a corner on theirs. I think for them, I also said probably right tackle, outside linebacker. Otherwise, it was secondary. So hey, add an elite corner like Sauce, they'd be happy. And then I think they'd come back. At where are they picking? They're picking 9? Yeah. 10. Come back at 10 and get a wide receiver.
New York.
Because we didn't talk about there's still Debo trade potentially going to happen.
Yes.
The Giants want to trade wide receivers, so they're available. There's a chat about Darren Waller to the Packers during the week. I don't think that's going to happen, but
I think that was a big old rumor. You were talking about getting a bit of a Nick Chubb before about Russell Wilson. When I heard that news come through, geez, I had a Nick Chubb coming through, for potentially consensus top 2 tight end in the league, I would say, in Waller the Baller. Derek Carr came out and said absolutely no chance that is happening. I think maybe more myth than news. Shout out there to Mr. Lachlan, $3. That goes a long way. These beers are about $2 each, so a beer and a half. Thank you very much, Mr. Lachlan. We appreciate the support. Now, the other thing that we were thinking about at the Texans is would they take one of these elite offensive linemen in Evan Neal and Ike Ekwonu? They're both still available. So they were both projected as top 5 talents. Do we see the Jets pick up one of them?
So I know the Jets, they did take a tackle, which was more right tackle last year as a first-round pick, and I think they did load up on a bit of other offensive line talent. But essentially they could go an elite left tackle in Neal. Of course, they've got Wilson there. They need to protect him. They could potentially take the first wide receiver here. But
who would you think that? But do you think Olave will go first?
No, I think Wilson's the chat to go first. My favourite is Williams from Alabama.
Jameson coming off the ACL.
If he hadn't had the ACL, he would be the top wide receiver in this class.
Yeah, agreed. And everyone that I was listening to was saying, if not for that ACL, which was late last year as well.
But they have pick 10. So I'm going to say, I think pick 10 makes more sense for what you probably still, Wilson may be gone, but you might have London still there.
Yeah,
probably still going to have a shot at Williams. So I think you either go, like you said, and one of those elite 2 offensive linemen, or you take the Sauce. He's available. I don't see Kyle Hamilton. I think is going to slide. I don't think anyone will take the safety in the top 10. His 40 numbers weren't great recently, especially the pro day. So I think he's actually going to slide from all the mock drafts we've seen. If it's not Sauce, I'd be surprised. But they could go another edge rusher. There could be a run on edge rushers here.
Thibodeau comes to mind. Projected to be top 10, possibly top 5.
Thibodeau was one. Johnson was another one.
Jermaine Johnson. He's an interesting story, isn't he?
Transferred from Georgia. He was on that list.
And even before then, fans of Last Chance U, I remember watching him at Independence. The Pirates. Shout out to the Pirates. An absolute jerkwad of a coach on that show. I don't know how much he put it up for, being on Netflix, or if that just is him. He's a pretty good actor if it was just for show. But yeah, an interesting story about a guy that went to 3 collegiate institutions and then really had his breakout year last year at Florida State. I think it's a little bit too early for us to see Jermaine Johnson. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is slightly more proven out of Oregon, who strung together and had the production at Oregon.
Oh, big time production. You definitely see him as elite talent there. He was the 2019 high school recruit class. He was number 1, so he was the biggest recruit in the country. And you see he's got a prototypical body. If you're looking for an outside linebacker to play in like the Ravens system, he fits that mold exactly. So we'll have to see what Jets do. I would lean towards Sauce,
you like
unless
Sauce?
If they don't pick Sauce here, then maybe there might be questions on his medical, and maybe he slides, because of course we don't have all that inside medical information. But we'll have to see what happens. So
the pick is in. Goodell is on the stand. The 4th pick of the 2022 NFL draft. Well done, Sean.
Is the Sauce
Ahmad Gardner, a.k.a. Sauce Gardner.
I love the sauce bottle chain, by the way. We're going to throw that
He's got that sauce bottle chain. Does anyone know the background or the nickname Sauce? I might look that up.
I think it comes from like his hot sauce. So last year didn't allow a single reception in the red zone. Has an unreal grades across all his targets. You put on the tape of Sauce and it is boring, because no one throws the ball in his direction.
You want boring is good in terms of shut down corners. You know, you got that Champ Bailey jersey on now.
The champ is here.
The champ is here.
Sauce getting a bit lost, of course, trying to get to the podium, but we'll get there.
There were years where watching Champ film was boring because he was such a shutdown corner. Revis the same. Revis Island. So can
they might have 30
Sauce Gardner be
attempts
that guy? Didn't give up a touchdown reception in his whole college career. Yeah. A big part of why the Cincinnati Bearcats went to the Final Four. A team that we're not really used to going that deep. And a lot of that was, I think the best cornerback in this draft being Sauce Gardner, he'll be a New York Jet.
I absolutely love that for the Jets, by the way. I think that's an excellent pick. We'll have to see what that turns into, because I think he's going to be an elite talent. Like, it's hard to evaluate some of his tape because, of course, no one's throwing the ball at him. So, but he's already got that respect in college. So if he's got that respect where quarterbacks are like, let's ignore that whole side of the field. We're going over here to try and get it. It's like, Plus the size, like he's Richard Seymour sort of size with extra speed. Like it's crazy.
Richard Sherman,
sorry.
Yeah, Richard Seymour. I was thinking that'd be a big corner, out there. No, you're right. He's 6'3".
I've been thinking about defensive ends all day.
Well, we've seen 2 defensive ends and 2 corners go 3 and 4.
I've been thinking about 5 techniques and Richard Seymour being the best one. The comparison with Patriots. Yeah, that was my nighttime dreams last night.
Mate, I made a joke about it before. This bloke has dead set just been sitting down and watching tape after tape after tape. There's 100,000 notes in front of him. How anything's actually coming out of your mouth and sounding good is a surprise, because it's a testament.
Same here.
It's a testament to how much study that you actually do.
Look at the Jets fans.
The Jets are happy with that. I'd be happy with that. Look how many people there. MetLife Stadium. That looks like it's MetLife? I think the Jets.
Are they sharing it with the Giants? Yeah,
I don't know.
Looks like it. There's a few of them.
I can see a Giants cap getting thrown up there. So they are ecstatic there, the Jets fans. Very happy to get Ahmad Sauce Gardner. I've had a look here. How did Sauce Gardner get his name? You essentially were on the money. Had the nickname since he was 6 years old. Jess claims it's due to his athletic ability. Came from his athletic ability on the field. That's how it came up. Hot sauce, I guess.
Hot sauce, yeah. Well, he's got the hot sauce bottle chain with the big sauce chain as well. Get that trademarked ASAP and start that brand, brother, because, I hope for Jets fans. I really like what Jets did last year. There had been some chat with Elijah Moore being in a potential trade with the 10 pick for Debo. Of course, that's still potentially could go down here in the next hour. Or, you still got 10, you can pick a elite wide receiver. Then they'll have really good receiver class over there. You got Wilson. They've added offensive line talent, and they're now adding to the defense. I'm hoping the Jets can get to maybe 5 wins this year.
You say all these nice things about them, and then you slap them with that. I think
They're still the Jets.
Well, the NFL wants a strong they want a strong Jets, they want a strong Giants.
They want a strong, New York.
Because it's such a big market.
They're picking 4 times in the top 10.
Yeah, and that's the NFL will be licking their lips because they need some strength coming out of the biggest city in the United States. Because over the last 8 years or so, we've seen them both really suffer. Obviously, the Giants winning those 2 Super Bowls in the Eli Manning era, they've had a bit of success. But, yeah, we mentioned before that 2009-2010 Jets team, that was pretty good. Outside of that, the whole time that me and you have followed American football, the Jets have been pretty stinky.
Yeah.
So,
since the turn of the century, yeah.
Yeah, so the NFL would really want a strong New York teams in the Jets and the Giants. Speaking of the Giants, they are up next. The pick is in. What's their needs here from your research? What are you leaning towards?
Well, with the news that Daniel Jones' 5th option not being picked up, they could do something dumb and take a quarterback here. I would prefer they go offensive line talent. They got one of the worst offensive lines in the league. Imagine if they got Evans here and then backed it up and then got Icky 2 picks later. That's resetting your offensive line.
That is taking the 2 best offensive talents. I don't see them doing that.
No, they should get one, I think.
I think
I'm not sure what order they'd want to do it in.
Or which one. To you, does one stand out, Evan Neal or Ike Ekwonu?
Yeah, I think if you want a pure left tackle, you go Neal.
Mm-hmm.
I think
given his height, given his size, he trimmed down from 360.
Yeah, and what you see on tape is he's more prototypical of what you want out of a left tackle. I think Icky could be a great left tackle, but the things he does really well looks like an elite mauler inside guard.
Yep.
And, you can see what Quentin Nelson did at number 5 for the Colts. Like, you can definitely have an elite guard talent at this point come in and really help a franchise. So that's my thoughts. Like, he's slightly undersized for left tackle. I think he could definitely probably pull it off, but I just think he could be an unreal guard, elite guard.
Yep.
With the what he does, which is get off the ball, get defenders on the ground, and then destroy linebackers. That's his bread and butter. So
agree 100%. Evan Neal, his measurables here: 6'7", 340. If you don't mind, that's prototypical left tackle size. Whereas Icky, 6'4", 310, a bit more like an inside lineman. Could be a Quentin Nelson type.
Yeah. So of course. Even though the difference in height, tackle's arm length is probably the most important thing, and both 34 inches. So even though Icky's got the extra 3 inches, he
still got the long arms.
Still have the long arms, and your missus knows what an extra couple inches could make a difference too. So
you take a couple inches because sometimes that can be 50% of the whole package. If you know what I'm saying.
Oh yes.
Anyways, crass aside, we've got a young fella here, Sam Prince from a Make-A-Wish recipient,
and there's going to be a bunch of them through the first round. I think there's about 5 or 6 of them. They're going to do it. Ooh,
Edge.
Yeah.
So Kayvon Thibodeau, the Oregon Duck, he goes 5th to the New York Giants. They pass on both those guys that we're just talking about in the offensive line talent in Ike Ekwonu and in Evan Neal, and they go possibly the most charismatic man in this NFL draft. Yep. I was watching him just before on the preview yesterday, having a chat with ESPN Live. This man oozes charisma.
Yeah.
And that aside, his football talent is pretty elite. Run us through what you saw from watching his tape.
Yeah, so I'm not an expert on the defensive scheme that the Giants run. My preference for him is probably more as a 3-4 outside linebacker.
Yep.
He definitely rushes the passer really well, gets to the corner like fairly well. I'd like to see him probably win more on the edge against tackles, but that might come with moves, more hand fighting, learning. That's what you're kind of trying to. I think I was saying this to you earlier. That's what you're trying to work with a guy like this. Is you've got the tools, and then you're going to teach him all the techniques that he needs to be a pro NFL pass rusher. So that's probably my one criticism. I'd like to see him learn some more of those moves and be more disruptive one-on-one with the tackle. But yeah, he dropped into coverage. He's probably not the greatest coverage guy, but he dropped into coverage. You can see he moves around well. Like he's got the agility. I think he can definitely be something. his three cone's not quite at 7, but it's pretty close.
7.23 is his 3 cone. 6'4", 255, and ran a 4.58. So pretty bloody fast on the edge there.
Yeah, and you'd see with a lot of these edge guys, they actually, and a lot of even the defensive tackle guys, just as an observation, are more focused, I reckon, this year on 40 times than on 3 cone times. Because you can see that, like, for a guy that runs like a 4.5, then to run a high 7, and you look at like Jordan Davis's of the world, like running a 4.7 and then having a very high 3 cone, you kind of is like, well, you've worked on straight line speed, but then not the agility. And for a position like pass rush, agility is more important. I will say his production numbers probably a bit low, but then I would also say the amount of extra attention he gets in games, whether it's chips or double teams, it's almost every second play. Like he's got to wait for his moments to be able to attack and to get the pressures. But hey, he's 115 pressures they just had on the screen there, tied for 7th most in his college. What would it end up being? 3 years. So in the last 3 years. So
two-time first team All Pac-12 selection. Good question there from contributor to the pod, Mick. The Rev Steamson, top 5 all defensive players. Has that ever happened before? Off the top of my head, I can't think of a year where it's been all defensive.
Not recently, because usually you're trying to, defense wins championships. We'll put it that way, but offense sells tickets. So,
and there is a position called quarterback, which is pretty important in this league. Great question. I just did a quick Google. Pretty hard to find. I can't remember one in the time that we've followed football. The caveat on that being, that's about 2002 onwards.
Yeah, there's a lot of quarterback needy teams year in, year out, so that usually kind of forces you to take something. But like I said earlier, it's an interesting draft, and we've already seen it with guys kind of up and down all over the place, prediction wise, of where they're kind of going, because there's just different evaluations, different opinions on the guys. Some have good tape, some projection. We'll have to see. But Panthers, on the other hand,
on the clock now, 2 minutes to pick.
I kind of think I've penciled them in for Jordan Davis a couple of times because I liked his size adding to that defense. But all chat is they wanted a quarterback, and they've got the entire offensive board available to them if they want to pick something from there. If anyone was going to trade down, these would be the guys to do so, because I don't think they've got the biggest boner for a quarterback. The biggest blue balls for a quarterback of any team in the league. They want a franchise quarterback more than anything, to the point where they're happy to move Sam Darnold on, give up on him already after 1 year and try to get a guy. They went hard for Watson.
A lot of chat about Baker Mayfield maybe going to the Panthers. We thought that would have eventuated already. That hasn't come to fruition. So an intriguing pick here. I agree. I think this is too early to be picking a quarterback in this draft. In the likes of Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett, I think we will see them go towards the back end of the first round. But I don't see them going here at pick 6.
That's the nicer place to do it. But if the Panthers can't move back, and they, like I said, they're desperate. They are very desperate for any attention, any kind of caressing of any type, to keep my analogy going.
There's a lot of penis work here, isn't there, early on in this draft companion? Otherwise, I think offensive line makes sense here. Again, we just spoke about Evan Neal. And Sticky Icky. Their current offensive line, Cameron Irving, Pat Eflin, Bradley Bozeman is a pretty good centre. Austin Corbett, Taylor Moton is a reasonable right tackle. None of those guys elite offensive linemen. I think offensive line maybe makes sense here.
Yeah, and then hopefully when you get your quarterback, can protect him. That is also a good way to take. I had needs here besides defensive line, maybe inside linebacker. They still haven't really got a replacement for Kuechly after he retired.
Yeah, after a few years. Damian Wilson is listed as their starting middle linebacker. I think played a little bit out at Kansas City.
Potentially,
not a big, well-known household name in the league, obviously.
Probably a little bit early for Lloyd or Dean here for inside linebackers. So, could be anything really for the Panthers.
How good is this draft? Just about every pick, we're kind of going, this could be anyone.
Yeah. Well, it should be an offense. Let's get some certainty. I think offensive line player, Icky and Neal, they should pick one of them. Let's do that, and then you can sort your quarterback problems out later. That would be the smart money. Silly money is they take Williams here.
As in Jameson?
No, not Williams. Sorry, Willis.
Malik.
Sorry.
Wilson, Williams, Seymour, Sherman.
Yes.
Few wires crossing.
Wills.
Yes. Back to Damian Williams, the middle linebacker for the Carolina Panthers. He's what you'd call a journeyman. Started off at the Dallas Cowboys. He was a 4th-round pick. Did have those few years at the Kansas City Chiefs that I remembered, but didn't do a whole lot there. Yep. And then was at Jacksonville last year. Do you think it's too early to go for one of these inside linebackers?
Again, depending on the scheme, and I think they played a little bit more 3-4 because he's a big boy, so he'd be a big run stopper inside. So like a Dean as a partner potential. They did lose Hassan Reddick, who probably was his partner at that point. But hey, that's more running on defensive players when you got the whole offensive line board. I wonder if Neal, the concerns about his size and knees maybe. But again, I'm speculating here. I think they got to take one of those offensive line guys. Please don't take a quarterback.
Well, you watched that Georgia-Bama game multiple times, and you thought Evan Neal looked like an absolute dog in that game.
Yeah, he's the best left tackle in this.
So that's interesting to see what happens. Anyways, Goodell is at the stand. The Panthers have the 6th overall pick. And there goes Sticky Icky Ekwonu out of North Carolina State, edging out Evan Neal as the first offensive lineman, the first offensive player to go in this NFL draft. He's wearing the all-white tux. Oh, I like it. A little bit of a green trim on that. Not really sure what that is paying homage to. Now, Sean, your thoughts on the Sticky Icky? He, like you said, maybe a little bit undersized to be playing tackle, but could make an elite guard in this league. What were your thoughts from what you saw during your study? Yeah,
well, as a general kind of projection for offensive line guys, he played a lot of left tackle in college. So if they're a little bit undersized as a left tackle in college, you maybe try him as a right tackle. But of course, the footwork's all different over there, so you do have to relearn all that.
And at Carolina at the moment, Taylor Moton is probably their best offensive lineman. He plays right tackle.
Yes.
So does Icky slot straight into the left tackle?
They could potentially try him at left tackle and see if he succeeds. But just what I saw in tape was the absolute mauler instincts. Like everything he does, the things he does like elite really, really well, to me fit more for a guard. So I think he's got more of that guard build and potential, I think, and he could be an absolute monster at guard, like elite guard. That's what I kind of think, as a left guard there, and you still can't have enough of those. But yeah, he's got all the talent. What did I think?
Hey, you know how we're talking about Aidan Hutchinson, hometown hero, et cetera, et cetera. Grew up in Charlotte. Obviously, went to North Carolina, and now has been picked by the Carolina Panthers.
There you go.
How we didn't
staying home?
Well, how we didn't pick up over that? Maybe them going the Sticky Icky over Evan Neal. That was a bit of a miss from us.
That's all right. We can't remember every single NFL player. Well, prospects' hometowns.
We probably could if we just made this an NFL podcast.
True.
The fact that we try to cover about 10 sports definitely makes things a little bit interesting, trying to remember the background of every single player.
Yeah, and shout out to Rick in the chat. So green for Nigeria.
That makes sense. The name sounding Nigerian. Born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina. Obviously, Nigerian heritage. That's where the green and white comes from. Thank you, Rickon, for your useful insights as usual.
So who picks after them? Because potentially, Panthers. So and the Giants have here. So Giants could then look at Evans. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's just go back to Icky. So some of the notes here I had We've already talked about the size, slightly shorter, but he has the arm length for the position. His frame looks good. You'd see him there. He looks very well built out. Maybe just needs to add a little bit of that pro muscle that you like to talk about.
Yeah, 310 is pretty much a prototypical guard size.
He's got the size. It's just
if he wants to play tackle, you'd probably want another 10, 15 pounds on.
Maybe, or you just try to add that, what I like to call pro muscle. You lose some of that baby fat and you become an elite pro athlete.
Coming from two Adonises here.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, I'm sure Icky is very concerned as to what we think about his body.
So some key kind of notes here, like feet and his feet speed, elite, excellent for the position. He had some of the nicest and quickest feet I'd seen in the lot. Very powerful, great leg drive, very dominant with his hands, pushes the pile a lot, gets to the second level in a hurry, which, again, was one of those things I was impressed with, which I think as a guard, getting the second level, destroying some linebackers, he would be an absolute problem for them. The few things he did struggle with at tackle was inside speed rushes. Whether that, I think that may be more technique, as in big initial kick step out, kind of trying to get there for the speed rusher, and he then does the cut inside. So losing a little bit of recovery, and he did that on multiple occasions. But again, probably technique, a little bit of cleanup in the NFL, get an offensive line coach in him. He'd be sweet.
Getting a pro coach to have a look at his technique. His speed measurables 4.93 in the 40 and 7.8 in the 3 cone. That's pretty elite for an offensive lineman.
Yeah, exactly. And like I keep saying, absolute mauler, physical fights all the way to the whistle, very nasty. And when he is I think of him, I imagine him as a pulling guard, and I just shit myself.
Oh yeah,
I'm like that. That's just what I want to see. But
you wouldn't want the big sticky icky coming around at you.
No, around the corner, and you're the slot cornerback going, shit.
All right, Goodell is back on there. The picks are coming out fast and furious. The Giants select, as we kind of speculated earlier, Evan Neal, tackle, Alabama.
That's elite for the Giants. Like, one getting tipped over before as the outside linebacker, to then back that up and then get probably the best left tackle in the draft
in the
as
class.
Well.
Yep.
Yeah, like he's going to join that Giants team, and they've helped to trenches is where football starts, and they've helped both sides of it, and they've got, of course, they've picking 2 in the 10, but they've got elite talent there. And we've talked heaps about Neal, prototypical size, maybe even a little bit taller than most tackles. Prototypical size is like 6'6", and he's an extra.
Yeah, he's 6'7" and a bit.
Yeah, got the arm length, got the size. My only concern is didn't work out.
Yeah, what was the go with that? Was he unwell?
No reasoning.
No reason given.
Just didn't run. I don't think he'd run probably well. He's probably a 5-second dude anyway, because he's just fucking massive. Like he's, as we said, 6'7" and a bit with 337 pounds is what he weighed in at the combine.
He's a big man.
I think he was heavier when he first came over to Alabama.
He had to cut from 360, 350-ish.
Yeah. So big dude, massive anchor, good flexibility, and he's just like a note here, huge.
He's huge human being, huge.
Yeah. So even for that size, feet were nice, very athletic, smooth kickback. It's just a nice looking kickback, smooth, gets the hands on it, and it's game over. Just like strong. What he did to Walker and the Georgia defense just kind of showed what he's capable of. His stunts, like his vision for picking that up. Yeah, potentially probably, again, another guy that doesn't really need to add size. Very thick lower half, which, again, is probably good for offensive line. Big in the legs.
Got some junk in that trunk.
Yeah, definitely. And powerful dude. I'm very happy for the Giants for that one.
It's so interesting. They are showing some footage from that national championship game, and you really saw Evan Neal, just in those few highlights that they showed, really dominating Trayvon Walker. So interesting that Trayvon Walker goes number 1 overall, and Evan Neal, the guy who pretty much had his number in that game, goes 7. You did mention to me pre-show that Trayvon Walker did have a sack in that college championship game.
Yep.
It was a missed assignment, wasn't it? He went through unblocked.
He went through unblocked, and I think it was more over the left guard's fault. So
there you go. They're bringing up. This is some absolute insane explosiveness.
Though he didn't work out, like
Where-
there's still some elite.
They were just showing him do 48-inch box jumps and then landing in like a split squat. So he's got a box in front of him, a box behind, and lands like right foot forward, left foot back. That is insanity.
Yep. Oh yeah, definitely. Okay.
On the clock, the Atlanta Falcons.
Yes.
So pick 8 here for Atlanta. They took Cole Pitts last year as the highest tight end ever to go with their 4th pick. Again, a little bit of a down year, and they're going to be looking very, very different this year with Matt Ryan out of the building. What are your thoughts here? What are their needs? What do you expect the Atlanta Falcons to do here?
Well, they've now got no wide receivers, so that's probably start. You can probably say Kyle Pitts is their number 1 receiver, but you might want to get him some help. Of course, they've got Marcus Mariota over there as their quarterback. Potentially, they could pick someone to groom there, maybe. Offensive line, but I think the best 2 just went, so they might want to sit on that.
Do you think there's a bit of a drop now in the offensive line talent?
For tackles?
Now that Neal and Icky are both gone?
I really liked Cross. So for another guy as a left tackle potential, but past Cross, yes, I think it falls off
Quite dramatically.
Yeah, the guards and centers I think should probably go in the 20 range.
Yep.
So yeah, cross maybe probably a little bit early there. They need wide receivers. They got the whole board of wide receivers. Otherwise, defense. But defense potentially a running back. But you know, I think they'll run it back with Patterson and Davis.
If recent drafts have got anything to go by,
yeah, not 8. And the guys,
running backs don't go. They would be surprised to maybe see one in the first round today.
Yeah, I agree. Because this class, the two being Hall and Walker, probably not as good as last year's guys that came out with Harris. In the lead of that class,
How good was Najee Harris last year? Just quietly,
yes, and you know didn't get picked till mid-teens, and the running backs didn't go until mid-teens till the late 20s. So too early for a running back these days. Think wide receiver.
And out of the wide receivers,
they've had success with Bama wide receivers.
Yep.
So it's potential. Wilson's the number one on a lot of people's boards. Doesn't probably have the elite size, so maybe London if you want elite size, but we'll see. I think wide receiver makes the most sense. Yeah, you go.
Drake London.
If you want elite size, Drake London is the one. So
there you go. Well played, Sean. That's why you're the best in our little podcast here at being able to predict draft picks there. Drake London, look, not the first receiver that we expected to go, but the biggest wide receiver, the most sort of prototypical ex-wide receiver, would you say, in this league? Definitely going to be an outside guy, a jump ball threat in the end zone. Drake London out of USC going to the Atlanta Falcons. I'm a big fan of this pick. I idolise guys like Calvin Johnson. He's not quite Calvin Johnson.
Something about 6'4" wide receivers gets you going.
Yeah, something about a tall wide receiver gets me going. Don't know what that could be. Ones that are good and have speed, and talent, and the rest of it. That's a little in joke. I did play a little bit of wide receiver down here as a youngster. Drake London put up some really nice numbers for USC last year, 88 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. What are your thoughts on him and this pick?
Yeah, well, let's start with the class. And we've seen it in recent years, the change of wide receivers, especially coming out of the college game, to being more around between that 6 foot to 6'2" space.
Yeah.
And then having the elite, faster guys under 6. And being really lean. Very lean, skinny guys. And
Antonio Brown kind of esque in that, 5'11" you'll see this range.
Williams, Olave, Wilson, all kind of that build. So if you want a big, tall outside receiver, London was the only one essentially in the top 50 you'd pick. Watson's the other one, Christian Watson, but he played in North Dakota State and is prototypical athletic ability, but maybe not enough production yet, and you're kind of trying to learn, build him up. Whereas London, of course, had the production, can definitely run and move, can catch. I've liked the pick. He's not my favourite wide receiver. I will get to him later, but didn't work out
Yeah.
Major ankles injury by all accounts.
Missed the last 4 games of the year.
Yeah, so I couldn't find an exactly what the ankle injury was, or if you had surgery on it.
As we're finding out week by week in this podcast, getting the exact details from an anatomical perspective can be quite difficult. But yeah, I really like this pick for the Atlanta Falcons, picking up an elite outside talent at wide receiver in Drake London. So, what do you think do you know what he would have run? How fast he might be had he been healthy?
Hard to say. He could, and essentially, for a wide receiver, you want him to run in the 4.4 space, and he looks like he could potentially have done that. And at that size, that's probably what you want. But he's
and at that size, you probably wouldn't mind even 4.5 to 4.6. Yeah, his ability to break tackles, his ability to win jump balls.
I'm not sure, like for big guys that come to memory, Demaryius Thomas, and Megatron's a freak, so let's not use it. But Demaryius Thomas,
he's kind of in his own tier, Megatron, exactly. Isn't he? In terms of his measurables,
but like a 6'3", 220 guy running in the 4.4s, but he was a really big, thick build. London,
he's kind of lean.
Checked in at 219 at the combine. Yep. I think potentially that might have been 10 pounds heavier than he played at.
Yep.
Put on a little bit of size for that. Like they're showing Larry Fitzgerald comparisons. Larry Fitzgerald was a thick boy, especially in the legs. And London maybe not so. So he might need to, again, put on a little bit of that pro size, thicken up a little bit if he wants to be physical, like contested ball. Because my notes here, smooth route runner, little hitchy in his get off occasionally, had good body awareness of like where to position himself to make catches. Isn't a burner, so I'd say that. So he doesn't win a lot on his routes as route speeds, but he's massive on the boundary. So like on the outside, that's what you're picking him to be, is that big outside presence. And the Falcons, they've got 2 massive guys now with Pitts there for Mariota to throw to, big wingspans. So yeah, it's good though. My comparison, here it is. This is actually a great comparison, I reckon. Tim Patrick from Denver.
Yep.
Very similar size, very similar build. That's kind of player I can think he could be. And if I use the Denver wide receivers, then like a Courtland Sutton, who I think is probably more of a bigger contested ball speed guy, whereas Tim Patrick, I think, bigger possession wide receiver and is going to just, over the middle, going to be a huge target wingspan for you to get balls to. So
interesting comparison.
Yeah, I will catch a lot of balls.
If you're taking, the first receiver out of this draft class and they turn out to be a Tim Patrick, no hate on Tim Patrick, I would say that would be a little bit of a disappointment.
Waiting to see what Tim Patrick does this year.
Yeah, I'm big on Tim Patrick too. I think his best is still to come.
Yeah, I think he's undervalued a little bit, but it's just as a Tim Patrick is he's a really smart wide receiver, catches everything that's thrown at him over the middle, and has that similar size as a floor. That's what I think you get, and then you try to build into what I was saying before, the DT or the Megatron. That's what you want him to turn into.
He's also 20 years of age, so plenty of ability to chuck some more muscle on that
exactly.
big
play
frame.
5 years at the Falcons, he'd be 25 by the end of that, and hopefully be in line for a big contract like all the other wide receivers are currently getting.
Yeah, wide receivers are getting paid these days. It is a different league, isn't it?
Why do you think Debo wants to be a wide receiver?
Yeah, interesting. Even though he scored more touchdowns playing running back, but that's the way the cookie crumbles, I suppose. The Seattle Seahawks are up next with pick 9. The pick is in, so they're just in commercial break at the moment, so we probably have a few minutes to discuss what we think Seattle will do.
Of course, the Denver pick, big trade for Russell Wilson.
Yeah, who leaves a huge hole there.
Yes.
Is it too early still for a quarterback? I know you're probably going to say yes.
I'd say yes. They do have Locke there, and I don't think they're going to get much more from picking one of these guys over what they've got in Locke. If I'm Seattle, I'd be looking at someone elsewhere, trade-wise. I hate Baker to Seattle, though. I don't think that works well. DK will probably have a big sook, no deep balls. There's not a lot of options left. Maybe actually Jimmy G there is not a bad spot. Now that I think about it, if the Jimmy G is going to get traded to Seattle's not a bad spot for him.
So they're stacked at wide receiver.
The other big hole. There. So the other big hole was the other guy they lost during free agency is Bobby Wagner.
Yeah.
So
and we spoke just moments ago about is it too early to take one of these inside linebackers?
I had them mocked in almost everything that I did. Lloyd to them. So I think Devin Lloyd. Let me just double check the name.
Yeah, that's his name.
Yep, correct.
Out of Utah.
Again, another big inside linebacker, elite kind of talent, speed, etc., etc. So I kind of like that there. They're not looking super happy there in the Seahawks, bro.
Yeah, it's all kind of understated here, isn't it? Pete Carroll
they are
looking very relaxed.
On the phone, the GM's on the phone by the looks of it, so he could be talking to the guy. But
mate, they're in the Pacific Northwest. They're all probably stoned out of their mind.
They could add talent, big guy like they've always had off. It would be funny if they pick an offensive line. They pick Cross here because you just got rid of your quarterback and you wouldn't pick an offensive line talent to protect him. So that'd be silly here. Otherwise, defense, just add something on defense.
You gonna go Devin Lloyd? I think that makes sense.
I like the story that makes sense.
Charles Cross, bang, bang,
fucking guys.
Yeah.
Cross was the best left tackle left.
Yep.
I'd say available for a top 10. I think that's from a perspective aspect for the Seahawks. That's a really stupid pick. You just trade away your franchise quarterback and you wouldn't get him offensive line help while he was here. Get rid of him, then pick an offensive tackle. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Sometimes you got to take the best available guy here. Yeah. You were big on Charles Cross, saying that there is a big drop off after Charles Cross in the talent in the offensive lineman department. Now, is it going to be him protecting Drew Lock, or is it going to be him protecking a Baker Mayfield or a Jimmy G or someone else? Yeah. Allowed 2 sacks in his this year at Mississippi State. And was very good against that nasty Alabama defense. What have you got in your notes in the study that you did on Charles Cross?
Let's find some Cross. He didn't get a lot of great mentions leading up to. That's not the right Chris. That's a Lave. He's a small Chris.
It's also a Charles Cross.
Yeah, Charles. Yeah. Why did it go? Oh no, sorry. Because I had crossing routes in there, so that's what I searched for.
I think you had crossing in your brain.
Yeah. So 23 kind of on the board and kind of was in the mid-20s. But when you put on the tape, you could see, compared to the other left tackles, and of course, now there's been a bit of a run on offensive line, they're going to want to pick him up. Biggest concern for him, so numbers 6'5", 307, arm length at 34 inches and a half, so very good. Mm-hmm. Biggest concern was bench, 20 reps.
Still pretty strong.
Still good. And
what do you want out of a tackle to high 20s?
High 20s, close to 30 is what you kind of trying to target. You give tackles with elite arm length leeway. So if you've got 35, 36 inch arms, you're like, it's a bit hard to do all the leverage up and down with that.
Those lanky boys struggle with their bench. I can speak from personal experience.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if it's the arm length. So I'm not sure. And for guards, you want 30 plus because your arm lengths, then your 33s and your 32s, etc. You want them to be smashing out huge reps because that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be doing a lot of powerlifting, whereas arm length for a tackle is more trying to hold someone at bay. Mm-hmm. So for Cross, that was a little bit of a concern. He did play left tackle, has a great frame, already looks pro ready. So with that, maybe not a lot of room to grow there. He had a very nice kick step, gets to the edge very smoothly. I love his technique. It's really good. They showed there, like dealing with stunts as well. His vision, his eyes, you can see him pick up the stumps. He has a great understanding of that kind of play design and where his support is. Maybe not the best mover in space, so you probably don't see him pulling much from the tackle position at all when getting into that second level. But I thought he was, and Penning, who a lot of people had ahead of him, purely because of, one, he's bigger, and two, he had a lot of elite mauler tape on there. But I thought for a left tackle, he just was better in space and moved around better than Penning did. Mm-hmm. He might not be an absolute killer like Mauler, like some of these other guys we'll talk about in a little while, but his pass pro is excellent, and if you're getting a left tackle, that's what you want. So, great leg drive. maybe not as powerful as again some of those maulers are counterparts. Like if you look at Icky, who's absolute mauler, leg drive, powerful, whereas with Cross, pass pro, drop back, anchor, that's where he's going to be doing. So Seahawks team that's probably going to be playing behind a lot this year. They're going to be passing a lot, so he's going to be doing a lot of pass pro. I'd slot him straight into left tackle and away you go.
Interesting that you mentioned that. Are you expecting Seattle to be the worst team in the NFC West this year?
No Russell Wilson, yes.
Yeah, I tend to agree. They've lost Wilson.
I'm not sure.
Like we spoke about losing Bobby Wagner. He's getting on a little bit. He's still
both of them getting on a little bit.
Still, I suppose the difference being a quarterback, you can kind of play a little bit later than being a middle linebacker that has to make 140 tackles a year. But that's still two elite players in the NFL leaving, and they haven't really brought in anyone elite.
I'm surprised Pete Carroll's still coaching there, honestly.
We thought it might be Wilson
old and didn't really
Pete Carroll going.
Yeah, didn't really want to do a rebuild, so thought, maybe he's just going to see out this year and see what it looks like, and then potentially you're going to have a new quarterback, new coach next year.
And you have to think of the strength of that NFC West as well, with the incumbent Super Bowl champion Rams,
we got
the
Jets,
the 49ers who went deep,
and
the Cards who looked pretty unstoppable in the first half of last year.
So let's get this in quick. Wide receiver for Jets, I'm thinking let's go Williams.
I think they'd take a wide receiver too. Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson.
Yeah. I can see why. Like you of course worried about Williams with the ACL coming off.
Which is such a shame considering he probably was going to be the number one receiver taken in this one.
Let's
talk about Garrett Wilson.
I was hoping someone would take the risk, but at 10, I thought the Jets 10. They've already picked one, maybe, but okay, no, that's fair. Let's talk with Wilson. And Wilson was, by all accounts, he was the number one wide receiver. If you take Williams down the board for the ACL injury. And
he was, just like we were talking about, that kind of modern guy who is around that 5'11", 180 pounds.
Combine said 6 foot, and I think he's 5'11" and a little bit. Reminds me of myself.
Not quite 6 foot,
shade under 6 foot is what we say.
You run a 4.38 too?
No, I think the fastest I ever run was a 4.6. So
4.6?
High 4.6s.
I think that might be generous as well.
Yeah, hand time, of course. So it might have been helping me out. I was quick back in the day before I got added my pro size. The dad bod.
I thought the baby fat's meant to come off.
Yeah, exactly. I've added it on.
Anyways, let's talk about Garrett Wilson. Had the production at Ohio State. At 4.38 elite speed. We're just watching some footage of him on a jet sweep, taking it to the house. What were your notes in the study that you did on Garrett Wilson, and how will he slot into this New York Jets team?
Also interesting because I thought maybe they'd want to go slightly more size, considering Elijah Moore they've got there, and I don't think Crowder's there anymore. But if he was, he is well another.
But they do have Corey Davis, who can be a big outside guy.
You are right. Yes.
But interesting, their current three on the depth chart, which I've got there, is Corey Davis, who's your big guy, and then Elijah Moore and Braxton Berrios, who are both small, speedy, slot kind of guys.
So it's kind of going to where NFL is like, fast wide receivers that win on routes.
Yep, speed kills, baby.
Speed kills. You get around because corners are getting faster as well, so they've got to do something. So skinny, nimble, I had here, good movement after the catch, so he's a very good runner after the ball. He doesn't look as fast as maybe he's timed, but he's pretty quick. Like he didn't seem to be an absolute burner like Olave was, who was also on that team with him. But great runner, has elite hands. They're very stout. Of course, for the size, Saints are traded up. That's going to be interesting.
Oh, we've got to trade.
He has isn't a physical force. Kind of makes sense size-wise. He wins a lot, as I was saying before, with his movement and his speed, his route running. Didn't win much on the boundary, so you're probably not going to see him getting the fade routes. That'll probably go to Davis. But across the middle, I think it's going to be his bread and butter. He's absolute weapon across there. He high points the ball well. Yeah, I see him as a high possession receiver that's an explosive weapon. People had Devontae Adams comparisons to him. I don't think he's that type of player.
Well, he's not quite as big.
Yeah,
he probably doesn't have that outside presence as a Devontae Adams. And
correct.
that is a testament to how good this guy could be if people are even uttering Devontae Adams in the same sentence.
I think maybe Devontae Adams inside. That's what you're after, like elite slants and those kind of things. That's what you're trying to get out of him. So, yeah, that would be the target for him there. Anyway, Saints.
Let's talk about this. We have
the trade up.
The first trade. So they've traded with the Washington Commanders from 16 to 11. We were talking.
Is it both picks? That's my question. Because they had 2 picks. So they traded with the Eagles.
Yes, they had
to get up because
that was 19. So they previously had 16 and 19, both trades. One with the Colts, one with the Eagles. So what are you thinking here? Could they be going after a quarterback?
Monkey had the chat that they originally traded up for tackles, and we've seen probably all the good ones go, and potentially they've jumped Minnesota, Houston, and Baltimore, and even Philly to then. Potentially going like, the tackles are gone. We need to get the guy we want. Otherwise, because like Minnesota's not going to take a quarterback, Houston's not going to take a quarterback. Houston maybe, but they like Mills. Baltimore's not going to take a quarterback. You've already traded with Philly. They're probably not going to take one. Washington, they've got Wentz. They're not taking a quarterback. So I don't think you're trading up for a quarterback at this point. You're probably happy sitting there for a quarterback.
Trading up for wide receiver? We've just seen two. We've just seen two go. We spoke at length at the start of the show about the wide receiver depth in this draft. I think that could be a shout here. We might see a domino kind of effect of wide receivers going. Obviously, a massive question mark around Michael Thomas, who had his record-breaking year just not that long ago and been plagued by injury and poor kind of mental approach. Perhaps a lot of question marks around the attitude.
Yeah, shout out NFL memes by the way.
What do you got there?
You remember how Sauce Gardner got lost?
Got a bit lost?
Yeah. It's just like Sauce Gardner got drafted by the Jets and immediately trying to escape. Good shout. So I'm just trying to find details on the trade. They haven't announced it. So they've traded with, of course, the Commanders. They were in this position. So they've Washington has decided to get out, but I can't find. No one's got details yet of what exactly it is. Because to come up 7 spots, 11? 5 spots, or it depends on what pick.
Depends on which pick. Correct.
Yeah. So, do they give up both to get to that point? I don't think so.
You wouldn't think so. Do you know Jameis Winston's contract off the top of your head?
2 years, 28 mil contracted, went through on March the 21st.
Oh, okay. I was like, Jesus Christ, I've just Googled this, and you've just gone bang. Yeah, full disclosure, it is on the screen right now. Well done, Sean. If you hadn't pointed that out, I was looking at my phone. You could have.
Just like, holy shit.
Yeah, you definitely could have got one on me there. That's a fair bit of money to throw at a bloke if you're going to go out and draft a quarterback.
Yeah, of course, I think they were in the Watson conversation, so they fell out of that.
Yep. And Jameis, before he got hurt last year, was looking the best that we've ever seen out of Jameis Winston.
So,
all right, you want to run us through that?
Yeah, so 11th overall pick, traded for the 16th overall pick, a 3rd and a 4th. That's not too bad to move up 5 spots. Though if you're a Saints team, you probably need some more talent on that side of the football, across your team, but they've obviously liked something. Question is what? So let's have a look. I had Saints with main needs being quarterback and secondary.
Yep, agreed. And perhaps safety as well.
So, yes. So
Cole Hamilton?
I had Hamilton. So in a couple of the mocks that I did, I had Hamilton or McDuffie going to them, or I had Stingley or Hill. All the safety's still available. Stingley, of course, gone very early. Yeah, McDuffie is. I'd like Booth more as a cornerback. Mm-hmm. I like Seen as a pure deep half safety. Because a lot of the other safeties, like Hamilton, played a lot of like slot. I'm not a huge fan of Hamilton just because of he didn't run real quick, and he's very much a strider on tape.
his upside, his ceiling could be Cam Chancellor, Jamal Adams, eighth man in the box kind of presence.
The problem
but
is
the coverage perhaps lacking. Is that fair?
Potentially. I think the problem is like the Isaiah Simmons comparison, who went to the Cardinals. Again, very similar, probably more athletic than Hamilton. Hasn't really found a position in the NFL yet. So why is the Chargers dudes out for a Saints pick?
And I don't know, a guy wearing a Chiefs jersey?
Yeah, no idea. I was like, why is Eckler and Tony Gonzalez out here? I guess Tony did play for the Chiefs. Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, West. I still don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a Saints pick.
It's a Saints pick, yeah. I can't see the connection.
Anyways, we do have Tony Gonzalez. Looks like he will read the pick, one of the greatest tight ends in NFL history. Anyways, I think safety could be a shout. I really think wide receiver, that might be what they're thinking here with the question mark around Michael Thomas.
Otherwise, it's tackle. Otherwise, they've jumped up. We need to get our tackle beforehand because they did lose Armstead as well.
They did lose Teron Armstead. Great point there, but they do have Ryan Ramczyk, who is an elite tackle.
Well, he's their elite right tackle. He played.
Do they need a left tackle?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got former tight end, great from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Who's there?
Tony Gonzalez.
They've got Dennis Allen as coach now because Sean Payton is retired.
Yes. Was their defensive coordinator from 2015 to 2021. Defensive guy. Does that play into going after someone in the secondary? Can we assume that the Saints don't go anyone from the front seven because their front seven is pretty good on the defensive side of the ball?
You know what? You can never have too many pass rushes.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Yeah, and Cameron Jordan getting on in age.
He's still elite though. You're probably not looking to replace him. You're looking for a partner.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they don't take any defensive front seven guy. I think with the money that they've paid Jameson and the lack of quarterback depth in this draft class, I don't think they go quarterback. I am expecting wide receiver, maybe safety, maybe tackle.
Yeah, safety, tackle, wide receiver. I agree. And with Wilson just going before...
Yeah, we could have Jameson Williams. We could have Chris Olave being the wide receivers.
They might be like, oh, okay, the two like big guys have gone. Let's get in and make sure we get the other one. Because potentially those other teams we just mentioned, Baltimore could probably take a wide receiver. Houston could take a wide receiver. Minnesota...
No, they're probably fine.
Okay. They're probably okay.
Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, I'm sure they're fine. Anyways, Roger Goodell up there, pick 11, 2022 NFL Draft. Chris Olave, there we go, wide receiver. Hey, we're not too bad at this sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they age really poorly. Sometimes we get it not too bad.
So we didn't mention Olave too much there, but that was also because maybe I'm a little bit down on Olave.
And why is that? Why is that? Because a lot of people had him perhaps on par with Garrett Wilson and just below maybe a healthy Jameson Williams. Why were you down on the running mate of Garrett Wilson, Ohio State? He was second team All-Pro and had some good production. Why were you down on him?
Yeah. So measurables, he's bigger than Wilson. So we said Wilson was a shade under 6 foot. Olave is a shade over 6 foot. 187 pounds. Ran a 4.39. So
it's pretty elite speed.
Yeah. Was at 0.01 behind his partner. Because they both play at a high. And then I was just like, I don't see these two being as electric as Campbell and McLaurin were, playing at a higher state. Both of those, Campbell really Paris Campbell really hasn't paid out for the Colts.
No,
but McLaurin on there,
McLaurin has been a star. Yeah.
So, let me run some reasons. So I said he had a good get off. Doesn't look lightning quick across the field. He has a very smooth and effortless running style, so maybe that makes it misleading. Of course, ran a 4.4. So he just seems to run away from that. Like he's not. There's not a lot of really rapid hand and leg movement. Line straighten up. Ooh, that could be for a quarterback. So again, a lot of
you're umming and ahhing a lot here.
Yeah,
I'm not seeing some solid evidence.
I'm just trying to formalise what I'm saying. So a lot of skinny Devontae Smith type builds coming out of college. Had good hands, wins with speed and route running. He's very similar to Wilson. Didn't see a lot of contested balls or going up for balls. Regularly got behind his man. Definitely has something a little extra when hitting deep routes. So, though I question his speed a little bit maybe in his intermediate routes when he goes deep, like using that straight line speed, he gets on top of the cornerbacks quite well. Run a lot of deep routes, also a decoy a lot. Not sure on his catch and catch ability. After catch, like he's yak after. Yards after catch.
He's that's
right. His wiggle, he didn't have as much wiggle as Wilson. Like the problem is he's got Wilson there as a comparison. He really didn't get many opportunities, and where he did, he didn't get many opportunities, and when he did, went down quickly. So like when he got the ball, got tackled quickly, didn't really break a lot of tackles. Again, being a lean kind of guy. So I can see him being, if Wilson was the possession dude, Olave was the deep threat prospect.
We just saw some highlights of that. Him burning a few corners,
so I'm not
taking
sure
him to the house.
You take a deep threat prospect here, considering like I don't think he's a Deshaun Jackson type. Like probably like the leader's deep threat of
he's a bit bigger. He's a bit bigger.
So I'd be interested to see. Hey, if you get Mike Thomas back, then they've actually for Saints, it probably makes sense because they've got a lot of big dudes. So you need that fast dude inside to add to that roster. So, from that perspective, I like it more. Nothing just wowed me, I guess, is on the tape. Like, he had the deep threat and was like, that's cool. You can run, you can go deep. What else? Don't want to be the one-trick pony. What else can you do for me? So I'll probably wanted to see more, like when he gets the ball inside, that he can then do something with it, turn it into bigger plays, and he just didn't do enough of that and got taken down, more easier than I would have hoped. So that's my down that I have on him. So
and that's fair enough. I was reading earlier
do you want to cover that just while
while it's up, you read it out.
So
the Lions have traded up.
The Lions are on the clock and they've got the pick in. They've traded the 12th and their second round pick. They receive they get a second round pick. That's not bad. Minnesota gets the 32nd because the Lions had the last pick. The 34th, that's a big pick. So they'll pick within 4, and then the third, I think that was the last one there. So not bad for Minnesota. Obviously, nothing there that they were too keen on. So they've moved 20 spots back, a big back, but they also pick up an extra second. So they'll pick both times in the middle 30 there. So.
Just going back to Olave, you've always got to consider when there's two elite receivers coming out of the same college, does one kind of prosper off the back of the defense really trying to look at the other? Did Wilson get extra looks, which freed up Olave? That's the question. Anyway,
his production probably doesn't show that was the case, unfortunately. No. But anyway.
Lions are up. They've traded up. Jameson Williams.
I love that for the Lions.
Here we go.
So we've had the run on the wide receivers. 3 have gone back to back to back.
Domino effect. I did say that about 5 minutes ago.
Yes. So everyone team's just like, all right, Wilson's gone, Olave's gone, and like, okay, cool. London, of course, gone as well. So it's like, well, who's the next best and potentially the best wide receiver from this class? Let's get up there, get Williams. So like as a comparison, this is actually really good. Like Olave, was good. He did enough stuff. You put Williams tape on, and it's like it's electric.
Freak.
It's like all over the place, electric. Like he's trying to do one-handed catches. His route running's elite. He's fast. He gets on top of it. Played a great game against the Georgia defense as well. He has been back training. Has been, of course, recovering from the ACL. Seems to be a little bit ahead of where he was in that. But like the production. 15 touchdowns last year.
1,572 receiving yards.
Yeah, I'll go out there and say I've had him as my number 1 wide receiver on my list.
I agree.
I had Burks as my number 2, so we'll have to see.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
But I like big. He's a thick boy, and I like thick
boys. You like thick boys.
They get contested balls, and he was by far the best contested ball wide receiver in this draft. So
now, interesting that the ACL has bumped him down to the 4th receiver taken.
Yeah.
January 10, he does his ACL.
Interesting. He was at Ohio State as well, and then
transferred across.
So he never teammates with the other elite wide receivers that have come out from Alabama, of course, because he came across last year. But walked straight into that mold of what those guys were doing, and just replicated what Smith and Judy, etc., had been doing there.
The word that they've got here, they've been doing on the live coverage, 3 words that sum up each player. The first one that they've used from Jameson Williams is ludicrous. And that is a testament to his ability. He just seems like the most gifted wide receiver in this draft class.
So, and this is the sort of stuff you didn't see from Olave. Like, take a short pass and then house the shit. Like, how's that? Like, and you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's different. But also better size. Like this game against Georgia.
Look at that route running.
Yeah, he just
boom, show and go. Yeah. We just saw him take a little 10-yard hook and then just take it to the house. Double coverage here on the stop and go. Houses that. I think this is the dude. I think this is the best guy. So ACL.
So that's him trading like 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
So
and January 10, we spoke about it. 9-month turnaround. I don't think it would be out of the realm of possibility that this guy plays week 1 come September.
Yeah, come September, yeah. Plenty of time.
9-month turnaround these days with some of the best sports science.
It's Trade City at the moment.
Yeah, in the world. I think Jameson Williams will be a stud. Now, another trade, Philadelphia have traded up to get the 13th pick.
They've jumped Baltimore. They want wide receiver. This is going to be Burks. If I'm picking the next wide receiver, it's going to be Burks in this.
Can we play back that wide receiver domino effect chat from about 10 minutes ago? Yeah. It seems to be coming to fruition now.
So let me run through some notes on Williams because we've done it for everyone else. 6'1.5", so taller than the other guys that we just mentioned. 179, so a little bit on the light.
Call it 180.
Yeah. Knee injury, of course, the ACL we talked about. He's a bit skinny, but my notes here: best wide receiver in the draft, elite speed, athleticism, plays incredibly fast, great route runner, excellent hands, high points the ball. Reminds me more of Judy than Smith last year.
Yep, that's fair.
Potentially more with the size and the route running, but maybe a step faster than Judy was. Again, another guy that wins a lot with speed. Did see him, lay out, go for more contested balls more than I saw the Ohio pair do. But maybe not the most elusive runner with the ball, like as in a shifty kind of dude to make moves. But he's really fast and surprisingly physical for his size. So not afraid of contact, will get hit, try to carry 1 or 2 dudes. And, of course, as we saw there, elite feel for the zone coverage and getting open. So, yeah.
Excellent summation there. I think we're both in agreement that this guy had he not suffered that ACL injury, would have been consensus number 1 wide receiver taken in this draft class. Now,
so I'm starting to feel bad for you, bro, because there might not be a wide receiver left.
That's what we said. I said it at pick 28 in an elite draft class. You might be looking at the 8th or 9th best wide receiver available.
Well, Sky Moore's in that 8th spot I've got here. So left here for we'll start with Philly. Mm-hmm. Philly and potentially Baltimore. So this is why I think they've skipped them because Baltimore lost someone. They had Sammy Watkins in.
Sammy Watkins is gone. He's out of the building.
Yeah, so I think they need someone to pair with Hollywood and probably with size. Burks is my favourite wide receiver in the draft of the lot. My favourite player was...
so you had Burks over Jameson Williams?
Yeah. Yes. So
can you run me through that thinking?
So if I was a GM and picking guys, my favourite player was Nick Bonito. who's a pass rusher who's probably going to go in the second round, but he just elite speed to the corner, and like he's Von Miller light is my comparison then.
Interesting.
So like I was talking about being bricked up earlier. Like that was full chub watching his game tapes.
A lot of erection chat so far in the first hour here of the NFL draft.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So then I had if that was my board, he was 1, Burks was 2, and then I had Williams as 3. So if I had a need in either of those spots, that's the orders I was going of. Just
run us through Treylon Burks. He is a wide receiver out of the Arkansas Razorbacks. 6'3", 225 pounds.
Yeah, slightly under 6'3" for his measure, but 220 pounds, a thick boy. But like every part, he's not as quick as the other guys we've been talking about. Pretty good route runner. Yes, great hands, but just the contested ball everywhere. Mm-hmm. Like doesn't matter. Just he was catching balls all over the field with 3 or 4 guys draped over him. Like he's just an elite contested ball player, and I think that's going to do really well in the NFL. I think Baltimore was the spot for him for a long time, potentially why Philadelphia jumped over him. If not, Watson was probably the only other guy left. I thought Dotson could probably go in the first round, but Watson, I had pegged to go to you. You were the Packers, but as another big-bodied 6'4" wide receiver, I think that's a spot. Because
speaking of Sammy Watkins before, he is at the Packers.
Yes.
Although it hasn't done a whole lot recently. Yeah. Former top 10 pick himself. Treylon Burks, 6'2" at the draft, 225, 4.55, 40-yard dash. All pretty good measurables there. 66 receptions, 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns.
Yeah, so they just had the trade. They've moved up 2 spots and flicked a couple. I think it was a 3rd and a 5th.
So you think they go wide receiver again after taking Devontae Smith last year?
Yes. Who else have they got?
I'll get up the Eagles depth chart.
Because my need for them, I've written here, is big wide receiver. So I don't think they needed like a Wilson or a Lave because they've got Smith. They don't need that body type again.
Yeah, so...
Get a big contested guy on the edge. So I had... Well, here, like Ravens, I've had Burks and London as who I mocked to them in my 2 kind of messing arounds. They're gone. So, they've been leapfrogged. So potentially there. Otherwise, I had Watson a bit further down, but I potentially go here too.
I think that's a good shout. The current wide receiving core is Devonta Smith, Quez Watkins, Zach Pascal, Jalen Reagor, Greg Ward.
Yeah, if they're happy with Hurts, which by all accounts they are,
I think they are.
Get him some weapons.
Yep.
Maybe running back they could add, but because Sanders has been a little bit...
Yeah, too early.
But yeah, again, too early. Don't trade up for a running back. Don't do that. Don't do that to me. Pick a wide receiver.
I think that's a good chat there.
Burks or Watson.
And anyways, Roger Goodell is up there on the stand. He's joined by what looks like some high school players, maybe. He's gonna read out the pick for the Philadelphia Eagles, pick 13 here in the 2022 NFL Draft. Jordan Davis. Okay, that's caught us napping. Caught us napping.
So,
but
I did
an elite talent. One of the hugest guys you'll ever see on a football field, and his 4.78 40-yard dash for a guy that's 340 and had to cut weight to get to 340 is elite. Thoughts here, and someone who I think we've kind of overlooked a little bit because this guy was projected as going top 10.
Yeah, so I need to learn to read. So my Ravens mocks, I had Burks there and I had Davis as the other one, and I read thinking Watson, but it was actually London there. This makes sense of why. Sorry, that's what I had mocked to the Ravens. This makes sense why they skipped over the Ravens because he is a Ravens nose tackle. Like he just embodies
a Haloti Ngata, if you will, a faster Haloti Ngata.
Yeah, well, Vince Wilfork, that's the kind of comparison that you have.
Yeah.
That's the type of player you're trying to get as a nose tackle, guy that's going to eat up all the blocks to free up your other pass rushers, and they've got some good guys on the edge. I could see why they've done that. I didn't think they needed to add too much to their defensive line, but getting a big man who's walking out here or G'd up. Like it's
I don't know if this
I'm
was
happy.
just internet rumors or if it was actual truth. A lot of the chat was he was 400 pounds coming out of high school and he just had to slim the fuck down.
Yeah, I think it was 380 when he first showed up to Georgia. There's been reports of that.
That is huge. Yeah. For our Australian listeners, we looked at this the other day. 380s like around 160 kilos.
Yep.
That is so fucking big.
Yeah,
that is so big. Official size now, 6'6.5", 340 pounds. Yeah, that kind of screams bigger, faster Vince Wilfork.
Yeah, yeah, and I can see why they've jumped over Baltimore to make that happen. So some measurables, as we're talking about, 6'6", 341 is what he measured in. Big hands, big arms, 34. The 40, the 4.78. Big broad at 10 feet with 3 inches.
That's wild. At his size, to be able to broad jump 10 feet.
Yeah, slightly over 6 foot. 6'6", sorry. So notes here, freak, big, hard to block one-on-one, gets doubled all the time. His get-off is elite. So if you actually watch the Georgia line, he's usually the first one off.
Yeah.
So that's really impressive. I like when he shoots gaps more than he plays nose tackle, though. So more like a 1 technique than a 0. Because
look at that speed for someone his size. We're just watching him chasing down running backs.
Yeah, I don't think he plays like a 4'7" dude. Like in the open field, trying to chase guys down. He has great closing speed, of course, but open field, you can tell he's a lug. He's a big dude moving around. My point on, I like the shooting gaps more than being heads up, because like trying to get a center and a guard to come across and block this dude with his elite get off is just impossible. And he just dominated when they did that. Being heads up on the center or being heads up on the guard made it easier to double him. So I'd be really interested to see how the Eagles use him over there, because I think they play more of 4-3 than they do a 3-4. But of course, the league they play a bit of everything these days.
Well,
so
and you'll play what suits the chess pieces that you have. So 13 picks, and we've seen 2 defensive linemen from the Georgia Bulldogs go. Wyatt is the other interior lineman from Georgia. Could we see 3 defensive linemen from one team go in the first round?
Oh, potentially. And they got to give Jordan Davis some money, I'd say, if that's the case, because that's my note here is like he doesn't offer much in the pass rush, but he eats all the blocks to help the other guys out. So that's what the Eagles will be hoping for, that he can take two potentially 3 guys out of the equation, so then you can get one-on-one matchups, which is really what you want on the edge. So, yeah, didn't have a lot of didn't see him stunt a lot. Probably kind of with the sides, it's a bit hard for a big boy to move around. His best passing move, of course, was the bull rush, just trying to run over guys with the occasional swim thrown in. But you got to love the motor. He hustles a lot, doesn't give up on plays. He loves to create a pile, which is probably very good for a nose tackle, which makes it very hard to run the ball through the A gaps, A and B gaps. So, yeah, you drafted him, and I said it here, you were hoping for Vince Wilfork. So I really like him. And that probably then forces the Ravens, who are on the clock with a pick in, probably go towards wide receiver.
Yep.
Or defensive end, maybe. There's some good talent there in the defensive end space. What did I have? Ravens. I said wide receiver or defensive end, potentially for them, pass rusher.
I'll bring up the Ravens depth chart just now. Did you know Jordan Davis finished 9th in the Heisman voting? Pretty crazy out of a nose tackle.
He might not have had all the production of some of the other guys, but you could tell that he was an absolute dominant force on that defensive line. And again, the reason why I'm concerned about Walker, you had a lot of one-on-one matchups because this bloke was taking a lot of it up. He did come out a fair bit as well. Like Georgia has too many good defensive guys on their line, so they rotate a lot. Like they might do series off. But yeah, it's that was my concern, of course, with Walker. If you've got Jordan Davis getting blocked twice by 2 or 3 guys, you should be winning more often than not.
Goodell is on the stand for the Baltimore Ravens.
What have we got left in the
and
the edge
14th pick in the NFL draft?
I like George. Oh, Carl
Hamilton.
Beat me to it.
Now, this guy was projected by a lot of pundits as going top 10. The highest ranked safety coming into the draft. He's a big dude. We spoke earlier before at 6'4", 220. He kind of ceiling could give you Cam Chancellor vibes, could give you, Jamal Adams kind of vibes, coming down, playing as the eighth man in the box and stuffing the run. Are you big on this guy, or do you think he's lacking a little bit in the coverage area?
Yeah, if you're picking him as a true, it's like, what position does he play? Because he's not going to be a free safety. I don't think he's got.
He has to be a strong safety that plays like a Jamal Adams and comes into the box.
Got to play in the box a lot. For a lot of teams, he doesn't make sense. For the Ravens and what Ravens do defensive wise, they'll find a need and find a way to fit him out and get the best out of him. So for him, that's a perfect place to end up.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy for Hamilton to end up there. There had been some concerns. Of course, he did the 4.59 40, so 4.6 roughly at the combine, and then by all accounts ran a 4.7 at pro days. So people were worried about it. You see the tape; he is very stridey to get across the field. So he's not an elite runner. Played a lot of slot DB as so again a guy that was close to the ball, can be involved in the run game, be involved in the run support. So like you say, he's got to be more of that strong safety guy. It's the comparisons, of course, to Isaiah Simmons is probably not going to help his case, and probably why he fell out of the top 10 and was sliding a bit. But you just see the way he runs is like this one is just, it's very stridey. This was a very long pass that was underthrown, and he gets there, but he's just very stridey to get anywhere. I played a bit of a receiver. No, that's kick return.
It's a gunner there.
Yeah, but he's
delivering the boom. I don't mind it at all. Look, 4.6, you want him to be a bit quicker, but at his size, he's not going to be your deep safety. He's going to be there coming down into the box more often than not. I think he's hands down the best safety in this draft class, and I think Baltimore is a good fit for him.
Yeah, if hybrid safety, I'd say yes. I think Cyril Seen from Georgia was the best true safety in the draft class, as a guy that played just free safety. That's all he did. Whereas the other three that potentially could go in the first round all were more slot DB guys, so closer to the football, playing in that kind of space, playing in that second, the second level to the third level space instead of being like third to the deep half. So, not a huge fan of Kyle Hamilton. I think the Ravens are a perfect spot for him to get the best out of him, and we'll see what happens there.
On the clock.
So who were the safeties at with the Ravens? That was a question.
Currently, they have Marcus Williams and Chuck Clark. Chuck Clark sort of come along a fair bit at the moment. Yeah, and then out wide, obviously, Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, pretty elite corners.
So some ad there.
Out there, which means, maybe...
there you go. The Ravens have traded Hollywood to the Cardinals for the 23rd pick.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay. Here we go. We got a bombshell.
So they don't take it. Well, they've come back in, so maybe they're going to take a wide receiver, but they've moved.
Hollywood Brown is going to be an Arizona Cardinal. And
Murray's got to be happy with it.
Has to be, but it makes sense with Christian Kirk leaving the building.
No, he resigned, didn't? Oh, no, he left.
He went to the Jags.
For that huge deal, yeah.
Massive deal. Third highest paid wide receiver in the league. Yep. Christian Kirk, go figure. Okay, so that kind of makes sense, filling that hole with Marquise Hollywood Brown. That's so interesting because I thought there was such chemistry between Brown and Lamar Jackson. I know Macca, former contributor to our podcast, big fan of Hollywood. We saw him come along, leaps and bounds in the 2021 season.
I think Macca's probably having a heart attack now.
That's a bombshell.
Yeah, that's a huge bombshell.
That is a bombshell. There goes Hollywood Brown.
They've traded him to essentially replace him, I'd say, with another wide receiver.
Yeah, I wonder what the thinking is there. I thought they were big on him.
At this point, Lamar's just going to be like, fuck it, hope Mark Andrews is down there.
Yeah, I hope he's down there somewhere.
He's the only one.
They just need Rashad Bateman or Devin Duvernay to do something that both guys... Well, I suppose different circumstances in Bateman being a first round and Duvernay not being probably haven't lived up to expectation just yet. But that is the first bombshell trade involving a player. So we've seen Marquise Hollywood Brown go to the Arizona Cardinals.
So they basically got a third-round pick for him as well, a first-round pick because they gave a third with that first to move to get back into the first round to make 2 selections here. So Houston did make a selection while we were talking though. Obviously the bombshell was a bit more important than a guard going. Unfortunately for Houston, they pick up
poor guards.
They pick up Green here. Great size for a guard. His workout was a bit meh, which is a bit of a problem. Again, 20 reps, under 9 foot on the board with the 26-inch vert. Like I said, it was a meh. Played a lot of left tackle and left guard. I think he's probably going to be a guard. Has enough size to probably play left tackle, but I think guards push him inside. That's where he'd be at his best. Very strong on the point of attack. Good initial push. Good anchor. Kick step was, like I said, as before, was a bit meh. Not the most athletic, so I think guard. Impressive reading stunts and picking up on the stunts. So, I think guard makes the best sense. Fisher,
is this a little bit earlier than we were expecting for Kenyon Green? I had to scroll down our board here. We had him around about the late 20s.
Yeah, potentially. There has been a run though on some of the outside linemen. There's been a run on. I guess Houston happy with what they've got on the outside. Maybe needed inside presence because Green would be the first inside. If Icky doesn't,
depends where Icky. And that's a big if.
Let's just say he's a left tackle for now. Of what we had listed as inside offensive lineman, he's the first to go as a guard. Overall very very solid. Struggled a bit more with the bigger inside defenders. Didn't see him pull a lot, but has the size. You'll see. I'm not a huge fan of this for Houston. Considering what did they pick 3?
Sauce.
They did. They got Sauce. So it's a bit of a letdown compared to the Sauce pick, but picking third. So whatever.
I don't hate it.
We said they needed offensive line talent. They've added it.
They said outside of Laramie Tunsil.
Got to protect Mills. That's the neck is there. What they're going to go with going forward. So by all accounts, it looks like that's what they're going to look like. And he's had, besides playing for a shit team, he had really good numbers last year. So get him some extra help, and we'll see where we go from there.
And that was always going to be the thing with Houston, as we alluded to semi-jokingly earlier in the show, is that their draft need is essentially everywhere. So who do you really go to? Yes,
just keep adding talent. If he's the top dude on your board, just take him.
Yeah, and look, we thought there might have been a run of wide receivers. We sort of saw it start, and then it's kind of fizzled out. You can't be picking up wide receivers if you can't defend your quarterback or protect your quarterback, I should say. I don't hate that. I think Green going over there, if he maybe plays left guard next to Laramie Tunsil, that's pretty formidable.
Yep. Yeah. So, Commanders to make their first pick as the Commanders. Move down a bit. Potentially they could do with wide receiver. They also need offensive line help. Could do with a safety and cornerback as well.
Do you think they go defense? Because there was a lot of hype around this Washington football team as they were last season around their defense, and they were kind of underwhelming.
The secondary needs help, so probably add someone in the secondary if you are going to target anyone. Potentially with guys going, maybe you wait on that. Hill could potentially go there, but maybe wide receiver. You've got Wentz, give him some options. You've got Gibson. You've got the running backs back there. You don't need more help there.
No, I think the running back.
You've got Curtis Samuel kind of coming back.
Yeah, but I think receiver's okay with McLaurin and Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, but you need maybe something. I think Chase Young tore his ACL this year, so maybe they add something in the edge there. But I'd like to see them add a wide receiver to pair with McLaurin because I think that'll free McLaurin up more and potentially that helps Wentz. And then that should also free up Samuel to do all the stuff in the intermediate areas to get open and just destroy people there. So
going back to the secondary where you mentioned they might need some help, Kendall Fuller, pretty good at cornerback, but then William Jackson, the other corner, Bobby McCain and Cameron Curl, not really household names there in the secondary.
Yeah, so secondary could be shout here. Corner, Booth, maybe corner, Hill, maybe safety. Otherwise, get some wide receiver help. Or offensive line. Get someone to protect Wentz because he needs all the protection he can.
How good is this draft? Each pick we're like, they could go this guy.
That's their needs.
But there's not, a lot don't. There we go. Jahan Dotson. Yeah. Okay, another wide receiver. So, like you're saying, paired up Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry. They get a wide receiver out of Penn State, Jahan Dotson, another one of these kind of smaller, fast guys.
That's my concern with this because you've got two of those already.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think although Dotson's a fair bit smaller than Terry McLaurin, I would think.
But he's like Curtis Samuel. He's like yeah, I don't know. Unless you're thinking you paid Curtis Samuel too much money and you're going to move on from him in the not too distant future. I would have thought maybe a bigger body to pair with Terry, but Terry's of course 6'1", 6'2", I think. So.
6 flat, 210. So essentially, you've got three guys all between 5'10" and 6 foot. But maybe that is the way that the league's going, as we alluded to earlier.
So I don't love the pick for the Commanders, but from a prospect standpoint, Dotson's good. Like
production, 91 receptions, 1,182 receiving yards.
Yeah, for 4.43, 40, 15 reps on the bench. That's nothing to sneeze at for a guy that's 5'10" and weighs 178. That's pretty good. He's tiny. That's probably the thing. He's three-cone, maybe not elite, but he gets off really well. He went across the middle consistently, which is very impressive for a guy his side. Gets the contested balls. He takes heaps of punishment, but I love the fact that he does. He plays back up. Yeah, bounces back, plays across the center heaps. Elite runner in and out of his breaks very fast. Maybe not the blazing quick, of course a 4.4, but plenty fast enough to play in the NFL. Good leaper, gets up high, smart route runner, knows how to get open, displays really strong hands. Maybe not the most wiggle and yak after catch, probably because of his size, but is a physical runner, which is surprising. He doesn't win the contact a lot being his size, but he
plays bigger than his size.
Plays bigger, plus adds a little bit of punt return capability there. So, not a bad pick.
They're coming in fast and quick. The Los Angeles Chargers pick up guard Zion Johnson out of Boston College, former Boston College Eagles, 6 foot, let's call it 312 pounds. Goes over to the Chargers, who had been pretty ordinary on the offensive line of late. Your thoughts on this pick?
Yeah, I had right tackle for them as a potential spot.
Yeah, so guard, tackle.
Yeah, I don't think Johnson's going to play right tackle for them. But
no, but it's offensive line.
Add offensive line talent. You definitely got the future there, and Herbert protect him. Potentially, they could have added a running back to help out Eckler there. Because Eckler's been injured on and off. Because I think some like a big dude to help share the load potentially. Otherwise, I had corner and defensive line for them. So I do quite like this. We're getting a run on offensive line talent. On offensive players.
Offensive players in general.
Yeah, Johnson was the second guard on the list there. Because I think Tyler Linderbaum will be a centre and he'll go later if he goes in the first round at all. So let's get some Johnson chat going. I had him. Zion Johnson, not Johnson the second. Big arms, so 34 inches for a guy that's just under 6'3" is pretty good. 32 reps on the bench. What you want to see from a guard.
There's a big boy number.
Yeah, so guard, great workout. Played left guard, is thick, very strong and powerful. Maybe not the smoothest running, like moving around. Obviously, he did play a little bit of centre on the Senior Bowl, so they tried him out of that. So that's good to see. Okay, so it takes him a bit to get going. Of course, he did run a 5.18 40, so not the fastest guy, but it's very powerful, very strong lower half. You never see him go backwards at all. Like it's always initial contact,
strong,
stonewall, and then going forward. But yeah, like I said, very strong hands, good push. Looks like what I would consider your classic mauler as a guard. Potentially could play right guard with that. Plays to and through the whistle occasionally, which you want to see out of a mauler. So very physical play, finishes off plays, very powerful. Can't ask for more on a prospect.
that offensive line at the Chargers is starting to look pretty strong. They took Rashawn Slater. Okay, and we've got a bombshell. All right, sorry, Los Angeles Chargers offensive line.
No one's getting paid this time.
Okay, so the next bombshell. The Tennessee Titans have traded A.J. Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles. What was that for? 18th overall?
For this pick, 18th pick and a third, I think. So
holy hell.
Yeah, obviously didn't want to pay the man because DK, AJ Brown, and Debo coming into needing to get paid, and DK and AJ have the same agent. So
I didn't know that. There you go.
Yeah, so Ryan Tannehill,
big boy agent.
Ryan Tannehill now got nothing to throw to besides maybe a banged up Julio. I'm not even sure. I think it was on a 1 year deal anyway. So
they have to take receiver here.
And that's who did the Eagles pick? They had 2 picks. They picked Dave. They traded up and got Davis.
They traded up and got Davis, and then they haven't used that.
They must have known that this was in the works because that makes now sense.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
That why they traded up to get Davis, not pick a big wide receiver because they've just got one of the biggest wide receivers they could. AJ Brown and Smith.
Oh man! Like we're talking about Marquise Hollywood Brown and how I thought his chemistry with Lamar. He's had an up year last year. Yeah. AJ Brown had a little bit of injury concerns last year.
Started the year slow.
Started slow,
but
he was a beast. Like him and Tannehill, had unbelievable chemistry. I don't know if that's just they couldn't afford to pay the man what he wanted to get paid.
Well,
Philadelphia get their big time receiver that they're after, and now Tennessee, you'd think, have to draft a wide receiver.
Yeah, well, otherwise Tannehill's going to be thrown at nobody. Like
Derrick Henry's fantasy stock just go up even more.
Yeah, you're getting 600 carries this year. Like, they're going to be playing the wishbone, like, bro. Like, oh man, I did. Yeah, wow. Like, let's go back a little bit because let's blame Christian Kirk for this. He's fucked everything by getting that huge deal. So all the agents or all the wide receivers got paid.
Yep.
The problem with that is you've got all these guys getting paid, but you see elite draft classes coming out year after year after year. Like, and again, it might be. I don't want to say it's the last hurrah for wide receivers getting big deals, but you could see the wide receiver position going kind of how the running back's gone, is and you just get the young dudes, get them in, burn them out, get them out, get the next guys in, burn them out, and you get them for 5 years and you save that money instead of paying, because you need 2 or 3 wide receivers realistically to have a good class. You're paying them. You don't want to be paying one bloke 20 to 30 mil, considering where the salary cap's going to be going in the next couple of years. Long term, like that's just. I'm not a huge fan of what the contracts and what the trades, like trading for Tyreek Hill, trading for Devontae Adams. They're really great, but you're then turning it around and then paying them fuckloads of money.
But a guy like Tyreek and a guy like Devontae, you kind of think, okay, they should be getting 20
top 5 wide receivers.
The head scratcher and a very Jacksonville move was paying Christian Kirk that much money from what we've seen. Hasn't been a bad receiver by any means, but hasn't shown that elite production.
It's elevated their stocks to ridiculous levels. So, and for the Tennessee Titans, they're just like, well, how the fuck are we going to pay AJ Brown? Essentially Devontae Adams equivalent money now for 20 plus mil a year. It was just like, well, we don't really want to do that. So they've bitten the bullet and traded him to the Eagles, who are like, cool, bring him here. We're maybe a bit of a younger team. We've got some cap room. We've got a young quarterback on a rookie deal essentially. We'll pay him 20 mil and away we go. So,
wow. 2 bombshell trades, 4 players. How good is the NFL draft? All right, so now
they also skipped New Orleans, which probably makes sense as well because we thought New Orleans might target wide receivers, so we might get 2 here to go back to back. We think that makes sense. I don't think offensive line or anything makes sense. What did I have?
Which receivers have we got left?
So it's Burks and Watson for the big guys,
and
Dotson just went. So Moore's like the only other little guy.
So you were big on Traylon Burks. Could we see Traylon Burks' name about to get read out?
So I had right tackle, tight end, safety, and defensive line.
That all changes now.
Without AJ Brown, they need a receiver. They got to pick. And Burks is like a nice 1-for-1 trade out here for AJ Brown. So
Treylon Burks.
There it goes.
Hey, let's go. Hey, there's a few times today where I'm like, hey, we kind of know what we're talking about. We kind of know what we're talking about.
Occasionally we get
struggle to spit it out sometimes, but hey. All right, Treylon Burks, Arkansas Razorback, 6'2", 225.
He was that offensive.
4.55. Sean, what have you got in your notes? What did you see out of Treylon Burks? Is he going to be able to fill this big AJ Brown-sized hole at the Tennessee Titans?
The comparison is the
AJ Brown.
Yeah. So I think it essentially has been the Titans have gone, we can't pay AJ Brown. Let's get AJ Brown.
AJ Brown the second.
So they're 4-year, $100 million contracts. He's getting $25 million a year, 57 guaranteed for AJ Brown. So that's the reason. Yeah,
that's
they couldn't pay him.
But Hill and Adams weren't getting 25 a year. He's the highest paid receiver in the league now.
Currently, yes.
Yeah, I think AJ Brown just became the highest
Adams
paid
was
receiver.
21, so yeah. Well, it's potentially only a 2-year deal for the 57 mil guaranteed, but the total big number, the average salary for a year is 25. But this is what you're getting. This guy, he contested ball all the time, no matter what.
So unbelievable highlight package that they're
There's another good comparison.
Deebo Samuel is the other comparison. Yeah. This guy, we talk about thick boys, thick receivers. That's we spoke about the smaller, faster guys sort of coming in vogue into the current league. You know what's better than a small, fast guy that's skinny?
Thick balls.
A big, thick boy that's just as fast. Yeah. His highlight package that they're putting together here from his Razorback days look unreal. Shown commodity. I think he had 66 receptions, 1,100 yards, 10 or 11 touchdowns. Yep. Treylon Burks, you said he was your favourite receiver. Mm-hmm. Maybe question mark around Jameson Williams had he not been hurt.
Yeah.
But you were very big on Treylon Burks. You obviously like this pick from Tennessee?
Yeah. After you just traded away AJ Brown, yes.
Has to be. Has to be done.
Yeah. And
look, they've actually got the comparison up there with AJ Brown. He's taller, very slightly slower, but has a better broad jump, and their draft grading is very similar.
Yeah, that was probably why Burks maybe fell down a little bit here as well. If he'd run in the 4.4 space, they might have been a little bit more comfortable with his overall speed.
I hate to flog a dead horse, but we bang on about it. Is it the most important measurable that there is? We see these guys that run these elite times and end up doing not much in the NFL. Yeah, shout out to John Ross or someone of that lot.
Hayward Bay, etc.
Hayward Bay, exactly. Is there that much difference between 4.48 and 4.55?
No, it's maybe if you're going up against the source and he's going to be able to stay with you quite easily. Matchups do make games, of course. So yes, there's going to be some issues there, but you're getting the contested ball, so you don't even care about the 40 if you want Burks. You're going, it doesn't matter, the cornerback's going to be there, he's going to win anyway.
Look at that tape.
He's going to get up and get the ball. He's going to outmuscle you, block you out and get there. So yeah, let's go some notes. Start with, I just wrote thick boy. So
boy, you write it with 2 C's?
No, I wrote it with 2 I's. So I think boy.
That's the boy. That's the boy.
Yeah.
You got to write thick with the 2 C's. You know.
Anyway, so of course we said he's not the fastest, but big, powerful, massive wingspan. 33.5-inch arms. So you love that. Great hands, contested ball all over the place. Will fight through a quarterback. Again, I just keep running. Contested ball after contested ball after contested ball. High points the ball. QB has so much confidence in him. He just throws it up to him and he just makes it happen. He's very, as I said this, he's very different from all the other wide receivers in this class, and he's clearly different. And some comparisons I thought of was Anquan Bolden. I thought here maybe
Anquan was notoriously slow, but and had a very good career.
My better comparison is a slightly shorter Alshon Jeffrey. So that's where because again, another guy, not the fastest, played on the outside. All he did coming out of college was contested ball, and that's all he did in the NFL was contested ball after contested ball. So it was, that was what I kind of saw there. He's surprisingly quick in and out of his routes. So again, probably don't care about the 40. He runs good breaks, has good route running. Linebackers will hate trying to tackle him across the middle. I think he plays faster than what he was timed. His game tape, highlight after highlight, they ran the entire offensive through him. So, and I said, someone's going to be very happy drafting him, has some wiggle for a big man. I'm in love. Maybe the next Debo.
I'm in love.
Yeah, that was my note. I'm in love. I wrote that on two guys, and I think Bonito was the other one that had got the I'm love.
There you go.
Because like you're watching tape, and like for me, I've got this is not a full time job, so I'm scouting 50 dudes and trying to watch at least 3 games for each one of them. So it gets monotonous. And then you put on a tape and you sit up and you're just like, holy shit, and you want to watch more. That was Burks.
Nice.
So yeah, I love the pick.
Interesting as well, because we spoke about Aidan Hutchinson at the top and how he didn't have that elite speed, but his 3-cone drill was ridiculous. Burks a little bit slow on his 3-cone as well. Mm-hmm. So we're not too concerned about this lack of pace. Obviously,
I think he's a better player than he is an athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you get guys like that. That happens. Jerry Rice.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, exactly. There's
these measurables aren't everything, are they?
Yeah. So we're back to the Saints. What did they pick before? Offensive. I don't have the tracker in front of me, so I can't.
That's all right.
You find the tracker. We did say quarterback or secondary. I think they or wide receiver.
Chris Olave is who they took.
Yeah, they took wide receiver. They took Olave.
And they've just taken tackle Trevor Penning, Northern Iowa.
Yeah, that's a good get for them.
He's a big boy too. 6'7", 325. What are your notes on Trevor Penning?
The one thing when you put on his tape is he's not dirty, but he's by far the most physical offensive line prospect in this top 50. He essentially will bury whoever's in front of him. Mm-hmm. So put it that way. Like it doesn't matter if the whistle's gone. He's making sure you're getting on the ground. There's a lot of that. So he's an absolute mauler.
And this makes a lot of sense. We spoke earlier about Teron Armstead getting traded away.
It does make sense.
Is this like for like bringing in Trevor Penning?
My problem is no.
Okay, and what is the thinking behind that?
Yeah, so like let's run through some numbers. So he's 6'7", 325, over 34-inch arms. 28 reps on the bench, which is great for a guy his size. Mm-hmm. So elite workout, had a really high RAS, which is a relative athlete's score, so very comparable to other athletes that have come out. Massive man, has a full frame, carry his weight really well. Of course, as I said before, plays through the whistle and is mean. Like he's mean and nasty. That's the kind of type of player he is. So you love that in an offensive line. Problem is, I don't think he has the elite feet to be a left tackle in the NFL. At least not yet. His kick step is okay. It's hard to say because he didn't play against like elite talent.
Sure, coming out of Northern Iowa.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure how he's going to deal with NFL speed, especially the speed rushes. So, and he's not a really great mover in space as well, which makes me worry about his overall athletic ability dealing with speed rushes. So I thought potentially, even at that size, you're going to have to play him at right tackle, which makes no sense for the Saints because they've got Ram over there.
Ram Sheik.
Yeah, who is like an elite right tackle. You're not going to move him. So that to me concerns. Obviously, they must try him at left tackle. They're going to try him at left tackle. Mm-hmm. I've got concerns and worried about how he'll succeed there. He's going backwards in pass pro looks more natural than his run blocking, which is you'll take that. Like his pass pro is pretty decent. But yeah, just moving around in space, getting on the second level, he just looks a bit gangly, and I'm just not sure how that's going to transition to be a left tackle long term in the NFL.
Now, you've watched a lot more tape than I have, so obviously I've got to kind of trust you on your take there. I don't know, for me, it makes sense in that you lose Teron Armstead, you want to try and replace him. Do you just take the best offensive lineman that's available?
Yeah, and that's why they traded with the Eagles originally to get into this spot, was to try and find some space to get a tackle. I think they're probably a little unfortunate with some of the guys that have gone ahead of them, and they're just gone, okay, we'll take the best available. That's Penning here. So
are the Eagles winning this draft so far with Jordan Davis? Kind of slipping. I think what are they getting at 13, and then bringing in AJ Brown. Obviously, they've paid the man. Yep. That's two guys that you can definitely build a team around.
Yep. Yeah, I really like what they've done there. the team was going to be highly dependent on Jalen Hurts, but they've given him the weapons to make it happen. If it doesn't happen, well, at least you're still going to have Smith and AJ Brown for whoever's going to be quarterback.
Yeah.
Bryce Young or CJ Stroud next year.
Well, I think they like Hurts. I think they're going to stick with him.
Yeah, his completion percentage is probably not where you want it, but
No.
he's good enough to win football games. So
And he can win
And he's
games
learning
with his
and-
legs. Multiple times he ran
exactly,
for multiple touchdowns. As he gets older, you don't want him to be taking too many licks, but you often see young quarterbacks come into this league and really rely on their ability outside of the pocket, and then they kind of develop that accuracy as they grow as a footballer. Think of a young Russell Wilson, if you will. Obviously, Hurts a bit bigger, but how much did Russell rely on his ability outside of the pocket in his first few years, and then more and more as he gets older, we've seen his increased passing accuracy and ability to stay in the pocket.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think that's too far of a stretch to see. Don't misquote me. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts becomes Russell Wilson. I'm just saying early on in a career, these guys often have to rely on their athletic ability, and then they develop, that composure
you
in the
hope
pocket.
they develop into, they can bump up that completion percentage a little bit and then, develop into being a pro and winning, knowing how to win NFL games and then take it from there. So, I like that. Not a huge fan of that pick for the Saints there, but
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. Now, this is an intriguing one. Pick 20, Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of people had got Pittsburgh maybe being the first team to have a sniff at a quarterback. They brought in Mitch Trubisky. Obviously, the tragic passing of Dwayne Haskins.
And they've brought in another quarterback since then as well.
I'll bring up their depth chart
backup,
there.
but I can't
And
remember
Mason
his name.
Rudolph is still
Mason
there.
Rudolph,
So it's a pretty full room, you'd think.
it's a full room of so-so
Of mediocre kind of guys.
and hoping one of them, takes the step to being your future. But my needs for them, I had quarterback, offensive line, cornerback, and safety. So I had Booth and Orsine going here for them in the secondary space. I do like George Karlaftis, I think is how you say his name.
I did have a look at this guy's name before. I thought both of us might struggle with it.
I couldn't find a pronunciation.
Karlaftis out of Purdue. That's what I'm going to go with.
He reminds me of a Steelers Ravens type player playing on the end, and maybe pair him with that. It's not really a need though for the Steelers defense.
Karlaftis. That sounds Greek. I think that might be Greek origin.
Yeah, he's good. Secondary, maybe they pick a quarterback. I hope they don't. I don't think that's the right spot.
We're about to find out.
20 deep, I think they shouldn't.
We're about to find out. Roger Goodell is on the stand. The 20th pick of the 2022 NFL Draft. The Pittsburgh Steelers go with...
He's going to hand it off here.
Drum roll, please. Because Roger is waffling and he's passed it on. Obviously, we're watching this with no sound. Do you know who that is?
He was always here. He's one of the defensive ends, tackles. He played on the line. He's Hall of Famer. We should know this.
Again, we didn't really watch. Franco Harris. Franco Harris. He was
fullback.
He was a fullback. Yeah.
He always does Steelers selections, so we should know this by now.
Yeah. Also, we didn't know what
Steelers.
this sport was.
Oh,
there it is. There it is,
Wow.
ladies and gentlemen.
Kenny motherfucking Pickett.
We've got a quarterback.
First
the Pittsburgh Steelers fans seem to be pretty happy about it. Obviously played at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, probably going to sit the year behind Trubisky, you'd think, but we'll have to see how that plays out. So,
bring up your notes on Kenny Pickett. I'm going to bring up his production at Pitt. Now, obviously,
elite production.
Yeah, they don't play in the strongest area in college football, but his numbers were insane. Off the top of my head, something like 46 touchdowns, 9 picks. I'll get a confirmation on that.
It was 40-something touchdowns and 7 picks, I think, last year, because they sang that early on the pre-draft.
I'll bring that up.
Over 40, below 10, which is elite numbers.
Fucking oath.
He's very happy to go to Steelers. I think he'd be happy to go to... where's Pitt?
It's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's another one stays home. Another one stays home. That's what I thought. I was like, sounds like Pittsburgh. So no, my geography of US college teams in states is not the best.
Not the best. No.
Well, here you go. School records: 12,000 plus yards, 81 touchdowns at Pitt there. So school records, and that's.
Last year, 42 touchdowns, 7 intercepts, 4,319 yards, completed at 67%. They are elite numbers. Now, does the opposition? These aren't SEC numbers. These aren't Pac-12 numbers. Does that kind of play into your mind, or
they had the comparison there of Matt Hasselbeck there? Like,
interesting. Yeah.
Interesting. Would you be sending a first round pick on Matt Hasselbeck? Depends on what year you're getting.
Went to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It was
Sean Alexander.
an elite year out of Sean Alexander.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It depends on what year you're getting Hasselbeck. But Hasselbeck played in the league for donkey's years, so might not have been into the top 10 as an elite guy, but definitely very, very serviceable. And then maybe that's what you need at Pittsburgh. You're going to rely on that defense, and hopefully your offense just does just enough. So notes: Kenny Pickett, 6'3", 217. The biggest concern from the combine numbers was his arm length. No one really talked about it. It was only just under 31 inches, which a bit small for a guy at 6'3".
Are you concerned that much about quarterback arm length? Hand size for me would be more of an issue.
It potentially, just because where your high point and release the ball. Yeah. But then, short quarterbacks are doing fine in the league.
Russell Wilson we just spoke about.
Yeah, exactly. The red Rick's not as what it used to be. Hand size is probably the biggest one.
That's what I had heard.
8.5 inches would be the smallest by any starter in the NFL if he plays.
Okay. So there's a legitimate concern.
I think no one in the last 4 years had started. Kansas City trade up. They're getting a wide receiver. Had started in the last 4 years with under 9 inches for a quarterback.
And what was the official measurement? 8.5.
8.5, and he was 8 and 5/8 at his pro day. So he'd been doing
8 and 5/8.
Like we're saying, they measure it like this. So he'd been doing some stretches. Get to 9 inches.
Just dislocate that finger and get it out there.
Yeah. So the concern, I wouldn't be too worried about the hand length. But then when you watch him play, wearing the two gloves. And I think of Peyton Manning wearing gloves, and like he needed to wear gloves for extra grip, potentially
later in his career.
Later, of course, in his career post a neck surgery, because he didn't have enough feeling in his hand, so he needed more grip. So do I think potentially that's what Kenny was doing? That's my concern, of course, watching it. But otherwise, good clean drop back, good nice compact motion, little wind up and little F in his flow. He's a nice little flick, like he releases the ball well. He's an above average athlete. Probably not going to mean much in the NFL. I don't think you're going to be wanting Kenny Pickett to be running around too much.
Hitting the fake slide.
Yeah, exactly. Decent velocity. He's very comfortable throwing over the middle, which is very impressive, which is what I really liked about Mac Jones last year, is throwing across the middle, because a lot of the guys will just throw outside or do dump-offs because it's easier to protect your production and get less intercepts doing that. Across the middle is where you're going to make more decisions, do more reads. So I love that. Maybe pull that down a bit more than I'd like and move out of the pocket than he should. So he might need to learn to stay in the pocket a bit more. A lot of under 10 yards kind of throws with the occasional shot downfield. So a lot of crossing routes across the field. But he does look to go through his reads, makes good decisions, can pick up the blitz, throws into tight windows with nice touch, good ball position, throws very catchable balls, good accuracy. So a lot of the things. My point here, I think he was more athletic Mac Jones, but maybe not as polished as a passer. That was my comparison. Very confident thrower. Let's see what he can do at Pittsburgh.
Did finish third in the Heisman Trophy, and we were speaking about Pittsburgh being in the ACC. Just having a look at some of their opposition, like that. The ACC aren't chumps.
Yeah.
They're not. It's not the SEC. It's not the Pac-12. But you're still going up against Boston College. You're still going up against Florida State. You're still going up against North Carolina State, Louisville.
You got to beat what's put in front of you. And if you dominate that, then it kind of just shows where
Miami. Like they went 11-2 in. Look, not the strongest division in football, but definitely a top 5 division in college football.
So the Chiefs have traded. They haven't said what they've traded for, but they had the 2 late picks. So they've moved up 8 spots currently. I had defensive tackle, inside linebacker, and cornerback for them. There you go. There's one.
There's cornerback.
And so
Trent
they
McDuffie.
Traded up for Trent McDuffie. Yeah, as I was finishing my sentence, yeah, they cornerback was a need for them. I thought potentially they've got 12 picks this year. They don't need 12 players on the Kansas City. We're like 12 rookies on that team. They're going to trade up. So I thought maybe more a receiver to pair with Hill over there, considering they've only got Hardman kind of left from the 3 they had last year.
Well, they don't have Hill anymore.
Yeah, and Pringle's gone too, I believe.
So what's your thoughts? Do you think the Chiefs maybe throw money at a guy like Deebo Samuel, considering they haven't taken a wide
trade for him?
Well, they haven't taken a wide receiver
I'd be
here,
interested-
and their best receiver currently on their roster is Mecole Hardman.
Well, he's a tight end.
Well,
Kels,
okay. Their best true wide receiver at the moment is Mecole Hardman.
Yes, and well, they should be very happy going to Kansas City.
Goes into.
I'd be interested to see
into a
what
great
they
team.
traded. I don't think they would have traded both those first, so they've still got a first there sitting. And if they're thinking Watson may be still available, maybe we'll see what they do. There might be another move here for Kansas City, but to get up and come and get a corner, they had corner. That's how ahead of the need there. They need help in the secondary. Look at that AFC West. You're going to need to be able to cover people. So
AFC West is scary, man. It's scary. He's the third corner to go now after Sauce and Stingley went first, and then
Stingley the
Sauce.
surprise and the Sauce. Yeah, I had Booth slightly ahead. I liked Booth a little bit more than what McDuffie did at Washington, but they were comparable, and I think that's a good pick. So let's find some Duffy. 5'11", 193. Bit short on the hands and the arm length. Fast though, 4.44. Is that Packers moving up, or were they?
No, they had that. I forgot they had 2 first round picks.
Oh yeah, 22. Yeah.
Yeah, 22 and 28.
Yeah. So let's just finish on Duffy. The 4.44 and the 15 bench preps. The broad, the vert, all excellent. Almost 11 foot on the broad and almost 40 inches on the vert. It's very good. I said here, arm length, maybe a little bit concerned if you're definitely going up against the big wide receivers, thinking like Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick as an example.
Your best mate, Tim Patrick.
Yeah, exactly. But, he looks big enough. He looks fast enough for the NFL. Played more as an off-man corner. And we didn't talk this about Sauce. Sauce played more as a like a man-to-man bump and run corner, as an in their face, get in the hands. Whereas McDuffie was more an off man where he'd play heads up man on you, but he'd bail out on the start, and not like trying to bump, trying to use his size at all. So played a fair bit of zone. So Chiefs, I think they do play a bit of zone. So fits in nicely there. Physical tackle gets involved. I like how he sticks his nose in there. Good at reading run pass. Size might limit him maybe a little bit to a slot guy. I think he's probably just big enough to play on the outside. His trail technique isn't the best I've seen as in following wide receivers. I'd like him to be a little bit tighter, in that hip of the wide receiver to make plays on the ball. So not sure. I'd spend a first on him. This is my concern. You got to add. Think of the Chiefs. Did they pay overs for him? No, I think it's probably fair. Maybe he could have slid it a little bit further. Potentially they've leapfrogged the Packers here, maybe because they're worried about Packers taking corner.
I don't think the Packers take corner. Jair Alexander and took Eric Stokes last year.
True.
I think they have to go wide receiver.
Do you think it's wide receiver? I've got George going to them just for shits and giggles at this pick, just to piss you off.
I think they'll take Christian Watson here.
Yeah.
I think he's probably the best receiver. Oh my God. Okay, all right. Interesting. No wide receiver.
I think he's the best.
Deebo Samuel. Hopefully.
Hate Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, give Deebo a call and throw some money at him.
They've got to trade for him. They need the picks and they just spent it. So
okay.
Quay
Walker, linebacker. What do you know about him? Another Georgia defensive player to go. Is he the first inside linebacker to go?
Yes.
Yep. So a lot of
over Lloyd and over Dean.
Yeah, we had Devin Lloyd probably going first here. Interesting because they did lose Zadarius Smith going over to the Minnesota Vikings, but him very much an outside edge rusher. And it's kind of been a carousel of inside linebackers of late for the Green Bay Packers. Christian Kirksey was their man. Jake Ryan was their man. Blake Martinez was their man. All of them being moved on to other clubs in recent memory. Okay,
so Minnesota just traded up.
I think wide receiver might have been best. Maybe they got spooked by the amount of wide receivers that had already gone,
Watson's
they've tried to fill a hole.
Yeah, Watson's the only one left. They do have the other pick. Potentially, they're thinking these guys maybe not going to pick in there, but some of these big teams coming in here would love to add potentially a big wide receiver. So we'll see. So Minnesota just traded with Buffalo to get in there. I had Dean Lloyd Walker Harris. Kristen Harris was my favorite of the linebackers. I really wanted to make him number one on my list, as in particular, because I love everything that he does from inside linebacker. The problem is he's just not gritty enough. You want your inside linebacker to be at the bottom of the pile, being really dirty. He played a little bit too far off, but he had elite measurables. My question with Walker, because they actually had three, and I'm worried that Channing Tildum, who's not going to go in the first round, was the best of the three of the Georgia linebackers. He just didn't get a lot of game time. Okay. But every time he got out there, because you got Walker, who's really big, Dean, who's kind of small, and then Tildum kind of fit in the middle. But it was like really fast, really good in run support. I really liked what he did of the gritty guys. So I had him. I really liked him, and I was like, maybe of the three, he could have potentially be the best of the lot. Dean, though, in my opinion, outplayed Walker. I think, though, you're going more size than production here, because 6'3.5", 240. You guys play a 3-4, I believe, predominantly. So you need a big guy inside. That's exactly what he is. Dean, not really as big. 4.52, 40, the 23 receptions. Anywhere from a 6'9" to a 7'5" on the 3-cone, depending on what answer you get. But, yeah, great side for inside linebacker. Consistently beaten to the ball by Dean was my first note. Okay. So, especially in the run game, Dean, I think, gets knocked for his size, but he was very, very good. Doesn't look as smooth, as fast as Dean, not as violent as Dean. Don't think he's playing instinctively. Looks to be thinking a lot and processing. Isn't a bad player. So I've just shit on him. Like, the problem is he plays next to Dean. Yeah. And Dean's consistently outplaying him play on, play out. So that's always going to be a concern. You're buying size is what I'm getting here. And, he isn't a bad player. He makes good tackles. Doesn't look lost in coverage. He and I've said it here, his biggest problem is he's playing right next to Dean, who's playing better than him, but he's more prototypical size you look for in an inside linebacker. Also, don't sleep on Tildum. He could be the best of the three. They're my notes. I've covered them all. So, yeah, you're projecting that he will turn into the elite inside linebacker you want with that with the talent he got there. Of course, playing behind an elite defensive line in Georgia, you're going to see what that transition is. I can't soften the blow for you. I'm not a huge fan of the pick.
Is your main concern or your take on this that Nakobe Dean doesn't have that elite size to play inside linebacker in the NFL?
He's 5'11", 220, I think. But then I think of Danny Trevathan. And that 2015 Denver defense.
Or cast your mind back to Zach Thomas, who played middle linebacker for the Dolphins.
Yeah, so he was 5'11". He was like a fridge. He
was quite wide, but I don't think he was anything over 230.
Yeah, Dean, I don't think looks Zach Thomas big. I think more of Levathan when I see that, and Trevathan, yes. When I see Dean, and I think you got to find the right team to fit him with. So potentially like Steelers example, you need all the Ravens, like a 3-4 team where like, hey, you've taken your Walker, he's your big inside strong safety dude. So Bills traded up to 23 with the Ravens, who've moved back 2 spots and pick up a 4th. And then Dean's your weak side inside linebacker. Like, he's the smaller guy that's you can protect a little bit with the other big guys. Can be involved in the run game, but then he's going to help you out in coverage. I can't. It's not much more to say besides that Dean outplayed Walker every time I put on the tape, and to the point when they do the rotation and Tilden comes on the field, Dean's usually one that stays on the field, and Walker's the one that usually goes off.
Interesting. We'll see how it unfolds.
Packers hate Aaron Rodgers.
They hate Aaron Rodgers.
They're like, what's the worst pick we could potentially make at this point?
Well,
I'm kidding.
Well, I was looking at the depth chart as well. I thought Oren Burks might have still been on the Packers. They actually punted him over to San Francisco 49ers. He was the guy that was kind of looking like might take over as their key inside linebacker over there. They don't have him anymore. Their current inside linebackers are Devondre Campbell, who we saw develop a little bit last year, and Chris Barnes, who doesn't have much experience at the NFL level at all. Don't get the wide receiver that everyone was probably hoping for. This probably makes the next most sense in picking up an inside linebacker and getting their open slather, essentially the first inside linebacker.
Whatever makes you feel good, Peps.
Well, 6 wide receivers had gone.
Yeah, true.
True.
The class has been picked dry.
Yeah.
And they've got another pick, so they can do it. So Bills, I had running back and cornerback as needs.
Running back would be interesting at the Bills. If there's a running back to go, no. Okay. Corner, Khair Elam, Florida Gators. Bring up your notes out of this guy.
I'm not sure if Elam I didn't actually have notes on scouting Elam because he's another one of those guys that came in late into the process. I did have his measurables there because they've put them on the screen as well. The 6'1.5", 191, 4.39, 40 is probably what you're looking at. I didn't take any notes on him because I had Booth because it's kind of middle. It's kind of a middle ground here of where you kind of find these guys. So Booth and Gordon I had in that list. So I know Elam had been a lot of chat about him potentially coming into the first round late, and of course the Bills really liked him. Played well at the Florida there. Made some big stops. They needed corner. I think they needed some corner help. That adds it there. Everything else was potentially a luxury for them. They're a good squad, and adding a corner they wanted Elam, that's a good one. Why they needed to skip Dallas to pick a corner, I'm not sure. But we'll see what Dallas does here in a second.
What do you think Dallas needs here? America's team, obviously, huge conjecture into whoever the Dallas Cowboys pick. That they've also lost Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson, so really their only proven wide receiver.
They've got Gallup there too, don't they?
Gallup coming back. Yeah, that is true. It's obviously CD Lamb, so that gives them 2 receivers, so possibly don't go receiver. What makes sense here for America's team?
So they lost Collins and they lost Connor, so they lost a guard and tackle. So I had right guard and right tackle as their biggest need. Potentially they could take the centre in Tyler, Lindenbaum, I think it is. Lindenbaum, who basically dominated at Iowa, I believe is where he was out of college. So they could take him. We could have a look at the tackle prospects in a second. Otherwise, I had inside defensive line or safety potentially as ads for the Cowboys. I'd tend to lean maybe towards replacing. They've lost 2 starters essentially on the offensive line. I'd lean towards that space. So if I then have my look at my rankings.
So we're thinking inside offensive lineman here, perhaps?
I don't really have any guards I think that are worth picking here in the first round besides Tyler as the centre. Potentially Tyler Smith, who I had comparable to Cross, who went earlier. But Cross was clearly better in the way he played left tackle. Smith, maybe not so much. So maybe Tyler Smith, maybe an option. Or, I don't know.
This one's really out in the open, isn't it?
They really shouldn't add running backs unless they're going to give up on Zeke. They've spent too much money in certain spots.
There is no chance they go running back, I don't think.
No, they've got Tyler Pollard and Zeke there. But it's whether they want to add like a scat back and move on Zeke and then change it up. But I don't think they're going to give up on
I don't see that happening.
Let's add to their defense. That's been bad for years. Let's add to the defense.
And that's what they did last year. They added Micah Parsons. Their defense got better. Maybe they take just one of the best defensive players left.
Dean and Lloyd are both there. You
Exactly. Jermaine Johnson is still there. So
Jermaine Johnson, George is still there as well. But I liked Benito. I've talked about him, and I have him as my sixth guy in there. But then, there's still is it Maffey and how do you say Ebby's name?
Which bloke? I'll try to help you out.
Ebo KT. I think you just got to say it real fast. Ebo KT.
which position?
36.
36. All right, let's have it.
So they lost Randy Gregory, so they could add pass rushers. Maybe they don't want Parsons to pay pass rushers, so let's lean more towards that.
I think you're close there. Arnold Ebikati, I'm going to say edge rusher. I don't think you'd take him when a guy like Jermaine Johnson is still on the board there, or a Devin Lloyd to pair up with Micah Parsons, who just walked into his position as an NFL linebacker, could play the inside, could play the outside. I think, the stats just came up. Their offense in terms of yardage was ranked 1 in the NFL last year. Their defense was ranked 19th. That's better than where they were a year ago. But I think if the shoe fits, you try to continue to add to that defense and bolster that defense.
Yeah. They need help in the front seven. They can add help in the secondary with Diggs. Like they've just keep adding talent in the defense, and then hope, Zeke, Pollard, Dak, CD, and Gallup can do enough for you.
And I forgot about Paul Michael Gallup. He had a bit of a down year last year. He missed games.
He's playing third.
Missed games through injury.
I'm pretty sure he's still there. Is he still on the list?
Yeah, he's there. He's there. Michael Gallup's there. So they do lose Amari Cooper. We've spoken on this podcast before about Amari Cooper. Some idiots thought he was a top 10 receiver in the NFL just a few years ago. I think last season's down year for Amari probably proves otherwise. I think they'll be happy with CD Lamb and Michael Gallup at the moment.
Either that, or they could shock everyone and pick Watson here to bolster the wide receiver room.
They could.
Again, Gallup and if we talk about size comparisons, Gallup and CD Lamb not the biggest of the wide receivers. CD's big enough, I think.
Pretty big, yeah.
Well, but Watson's at 6'4" is bigger again.
Sure.
Get more weapons for Dak, maybe. I don't know.
No, I don't think they need to. Just look at how your offense is going. They're fine. Your defense, whilst better than last year, is still a bottom half defense in the NFL.
And they've struggled with inside linebacker injuries.
They have to pick a defensive player here. Who it is, I'm not quite sure. Anyways, Goodell is at the stand, the 24th pick.
There it is, Tyler Smith.
Okay, so going back to what we had said originally, lost a few starters off that offensive line. Dallas always renowned for having a strong offensive line. Tyler Smith out of Tulsa. Sean, I'll give you a moment to bring up whatever notes you have on him.
I love that they said too many penalties, because I'm pretty sure on my notes I said he's a bit grabby.
He's a bit grabby?
No, grabby.
Grabby, holding.
Holding, as in, he grabs occasionally like that, and you're just like, you maybe get away with that in college, you're not going to get away with that in the NFL, unfortunately. So
a few of these highlights look pretty badass. He's absolutely bulled a few defensive linemen there. So what are your notes on Tyler Smith?
6'5", 324, 34-inch arms, good size around there. Rest of his numbers, bit meh, but he, big man, not too worried about that. Of course, good size for the position. Played left tackle. His kick step is maybe a little bit short, and I think he might struggle a little bit against speed rushers. But he looked like a good mover, has an impact in the second level, so hasn't getting into those linebackers. Some players he just dominates. Others he just looks a step behind and needs to recover, and that could be with his technique on his kick step. Like he might win, and then sometimes the edge rusher might beat him outside. Whether he's just too busy thinking about what's inside, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe he's guessing too much on what the DN's trying to do, and kind of losing where he's feet and getting beat. Again, stuff you can clean up. He's got the body; you can clean that stuff up. Though he does a lot of these things, I say he doesn't really lose a lot on a play, as in doesn't end up in sacks. Does get a bit grabby if beat bad. Maybe this could all be coached away, like I said. Is powerful enough, adds to all the plays, little slow on stunt pickup, not a mauler / killer like some of the other guys like Icky and Penning we've mentioned. but it's more than strong enough. Has a good, good and strong anchor. Maybe not as comparable as Cross. That's what I had in my notes. My biggest concern, though, of course, was does he have an elite enough kick step to deal with NFL speed rushes as a left tackle? I think there are a lot of little mistakes in his games that can hopefully be caged out. So potentially, right tackle for him. They've got Smith, don't they, playing left tackle?
Tyron Smith, yeah.
Yeah, so put him at right tackle.
2 T Smiths.
Yeah, the Smiths, the bookends. That's
Zach Martin on there, an elite guard. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they bolster what is already a pretty strong offensive line.
Yeah, and that'll help their running game. That'll help Dak. And
that was noticeable last year. Zeke's yards per carry were down. Tony Pollard quite explosive when he got the football. So maybe Zeke will be licking his lips, seeing another elite offensive lineman come to join that team. I think it's a bit of a head scratcher. I think when the numbers show that your defense is still the part of the team that is letting you down, I thought you'd maybe want to add to the defense, considering the likes of a Jermaine Johnson and a Devin Lloyd being on that draft board.
Yeah, but I also remember this is Dallas, and they prefer to put bums in seats. They'd rather have a 40 to 30 game,
high-powered offense,
high scoring, getting crowds involved, than grind their game out playing defense. So. Yeah, that's my thought on that. Like they want to have a good offense and they want to put up big points. And Jerry's always been that's his focus. So helping Dak out is always going to be good. They needed some extra help and protection. They're a bit light on numbers wise either. So Smith's a good get. So that brings the Ravens back. Who did they pick before when they traded up? They'd got. Do you have the tracker there?
I do. How interesting.
Yeah,
so much happens and then you're like, who did everyone take? All I can remember is they traded away Hollywood Brown. They got the safety, didn't they?
They got Hamilton.
In Cole Hamilton, yes.
So they probably still need to add receiver help. So Watson he'd be my last wide receiver to go in the first round. Mm-hmm. Sky Moore maybe sneaks in, or maybe someone else sneaks in. But from the lists that I had, Watson was the last of the wide receivers.
We've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Seven. I think it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I stand corrected. Yeah. 6 wide receivers have gone so far through 24 picks.
Yeah, I had 8 in the top 50, so we've got 2 left. So
okay.
So there's been a premium on them. I still had. Well, I've got, where's my notes for Ravens? Wide receiver and defensive end. So they've both could fill those needs. Johnson and Karlaftis. That's too far. Karlaftis.
Karlaftis?
I'm getting a bit parched here.
Do you want a beer?
Yeah, let's get a smash of beer.
There you go.
Get going. Thank you kindly. He, to me, embodies, and I think I said this earlier, a defensive end for the Ravens. So potentially he could go there. Good old George. Otherwise, Johnson's still there. There's a few guys that have outside linebacker builds that I think fit really well for what the Ravens like to do, but maybe a little bit early for them. Benito was, of course, my favorite that I keep talking about. Mm-hmm. And then there's the next 3 essentially are. So you got the 2 big boys in Johnson and George, and then you've got outside linebacker DN comparisons. And Mafa, maybe? M-A-F-E?
Mafe. Like parfait. Yeah, I've got no idea.
There's Ojobu and Ebiki that we talked about before. Mm-hmm. They all fit well with a Raven-style football. And now let me drink this.
Looking at what they've got, having traded away Hollywood Brown, Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay, I think they need a wide receiver.
They need proven.
Yeah. Obviously, they've got Mark Andrews, a top 5 tight end in the NFL. Their offensive line is reasonable. We could see them maybe try to bolster that on the right side of that offensive line.
So I know they've got Derek Wolfe and Carlos Campbell there. So potentially they don't go the bigger DN boys. They might want an outside guy.
Outside guy, yeah, I don't mind that. They've got Tyus Bowser.
They tried to sign your mate from the Packers,
Zadarius Smith,
and then that deal fell through.
And the other purple team, the Vikings ended up picking up
Smith.
him.
So it kind of alludes to the fact they probably want an outside linebacker.
Not very happy as a Packers fan in losing Zadarius Smith has shown, especially in the last 2 years,
is that where Walker fits in? Do they think he can rush the passer a little bit?
No, I don't think so. Given his build,
I didn't see any of that on tape, so I wouldn't think that's the idea. But
no, I think he'll be trying to. They'll be trying to play him as an inside linebacker. This one they could go anywhere. Again, I think wide receiver is probably their biggest need. They could go offensive line. I think their linebackers, Patrick Queen has developed really well as a young inside linebacker. They've already added some secondary help in Cole Hamilton to go along with a pretty elite cornerback group. I'd be surprised if they go defensive side of the ball here.
Yeah. If they go on defensive side of the ball, I'm thinking the outside linebacker pass rusher, trying to get another maybe Terrell Suggs kind of guy, or maybe a little smaller than Suggs.
Well, Jermaine Johnson, a lot of people had him going top 10, and he's still available.
Yeah, but Wolf is mostly serviceable. They got Campbell there. You're probably not going to bump those two out. I'll take a centre.
Tyler Linderbaum. So, we were talking about offensive line. We thought maybe on their right side.
Stanley's coming back.
Yeah, Ronnie Stanley will be there. Patrick McCarry is their current centre, who isn't a bad NFL centre. Maybe he gets bumped to guard. Tyler Linderbaum out of Iowa is your prototypical centre, the first centre to go in this draft. Yeah. They've got his rating there, according to this live coverage from ESPN, as 99. So they obviously love what Tyler Linderbaum does as a centre out of Iowa.
I don't think he allowed like a pressure this year or something, like something ridiculous from centre. He's crazy. So measurable 6'2", 296. Maybe slightly unders for NFL, but for a centre, that's pretty standard.
Yeah, so I think anything around that 300 mark is fine. The comparable player they had is Corey Linsley, who was a long-time Packer, now currently at the the Los Angeles Chargers. He's a pretty elite centre, so it's a good comparison for Tyler Linderbaum to get here. Do you have anything on your notes there?
He is slightly undersized. So that's going to force him to be a centre. You're not going to use him as a guard. He's a centre.
No, yep.
And he's absolute lead centre. He definitely looks like he's got enough speed and motion to get in there. He had a foot sprain. That's why he didn't work out. Mm-hmm. Had the shortest arms this draft for an offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. Of course, not an issue for centre. I'm not too worried about that. Nope. He looks fast, very quick feet, good anchor, which is very impressive for a guy his size. He gets to the second level in a hurry. Does have that wrestling background. Yeah. Keeps his feet, shows good balance. Missed more blocks on the linebackers than I'd like, so there's delayed blitzes, but that's the hardest thing to do as a centre, to deal with a nose tackle and then to come off and get a linebacker. My thinking is he must engage with defenders early, or he seems to get beat a bit with speed, and that could just be with his athleticism. Big nose tackles like Jordan Davis, probably going to be a problem for him heads up, because he can't really move him off the spot, but he also holds his ground. He doesn't move back. He's very much a hard-nosed, gritty player. Likes to get, likes to get dirty, likes to get involved in the blocks there, get downfield. I didn't see him miss any assignments, so I'm really happy with that. Very solid prospect. Perfect fit for what the Ravens like to do in football. My only thinking is, as the Jets trade up here, 26 overall with a third-round pick for a second, third, and fifth from the Titans, so the Titans are moving out after getting the A.J. Brown replacement, is the fact the Ravens didn't do that. So they've traded down. They traded up, get Hamilton, traded away Hollywood, and then they've now gone back and taken a centre. I'm a little more concerned about their overall direction of, you've struggled at wide receiver for years, and now you've got just Bateman there as your only potential option. I don't know. I don't know from a draft to what they're doing.
Well, you also have to think the type of offense that they run. They've got the most electric runner as a quarterback in Lamar Jackson. If they get a healthy running back room in J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, they might just pound that football. They've got Mark Andrews. I see where you're at. I was just saying that, on paper, it looks like a wide receiver might make sense, but the way the Ravens play the football, pound that rock.
They are run first, unfortunately.
Exactly. looking back on it, this kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Interesting, we're talking about him maybe being undersized. A lot of video of him wrestling current tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tristan Wirfs, and burying him.
Yep.
And Tristan, obviously, a lot bigger than Tyler Linderbaum. So maybe he's one of those guys that is just that little bit undersized, but has that, for whatever reason, uncanny strength for a guy of his size.
But also knows how to use his strength and other people's strengths against them from that wrestling background. Not to cross sports into the mixed martial arts world, but you can definitely see guys that are undersized be better wrestlers, and just understand where their body is and how to use their body in a way that elevates their strength capability to take on guys that are bigger than them. So. Yeah, I love that. Jets here, really interesting. They've traded back into the first. Already got Sauce, already got Wilson.
So they're going to have 3 first-rounders going to
I've loved what the Jets
New York.
Yeah,
they're going aggressive.
So what do we target here? We've said on their needs, I had tight end, right tackle, outside linebacker, and secondary, and they were hunting a wide receiver. So they've got the wide receiver, probably address secondary, maybe enough currently. There is a lot of potential safety options. Tackles are probably been picked dry. There's a lot of pass rushers.
And they've got Mekhi Becton as their left tackle, who is pretty elite.
There's a lot of pass rushers and edge guys left a lot here. So
I think edge makes sense for the Jets here because their inside of Sheldon Rankins and Quinnen Williams is elite. I think if they added an elite edge rusher here, it would be a really scary, defensive line for the New York Jets. Let's have a look. The pick is in. Jermaine Johnson. Thank you very much. Hey, there we go. Another time where we go, okay, now Jermaine Johnson, Florida State. We spoke earlier about him in the podcast.
Slid a little bit.
Slid a lot. Yeah, a lot of guys had him maybe going top 10.
Yeah,
he was
10-ish.
He was a journeyman, if you can use that term in the college game.
Yeah, well, 1 year wonder, of course, buried on the Georgia defense.
Yep.
Of course, transferred and then just showed his elite capability.
At Florida State.
Had more production than Walker this year.
Interesting. More production. He had the numbers over the guy that went first overall. We spoke about him being on Last Chance U, going through Independence out of Kansas City. I like his get up here too. A little bit of gold and black. That's a nice kit there from Jermaine Johnson. He goes to the New York Jets. They've taken 3 guys in the first round. I agree. I like the players that they've got here
12 sacks last year.
in arguably the best cornerback, arguably the best receiver, and probably a top arguably a top 3 edge guy in a draft where 2 of the first 2 picks were edge guys. I think the Jets have done really well here.
Well, let me give you some stats as well. Let me just double check our edges. So Hutchinson and Walker were the only kind of big defensive ends that have gone. Johnson's the third, so they've essentially got the third defensive end to go. Because Tibonay, I thought, was more of a outside linebacker perhaps. Yeah. So 6'5", 254, 34-inch arms, excellent. 4.58 in the 40. Didn't do a 3-cone, but he for me he looked a little. I wrote this. He looked a little lean with a bit of room to grow, but then he also looks filled out. And what I mean with that is he doesn't look like an elite big guy, but he also looks very muscular. So I'm not sure how much growth he's got in his body. So maybe what you see is what you get. He did, of course, transfer from Georgia. We talked about that. Shows good power, more than I thought for his size. I like when he goes inside and stacks well. He stacks well and does a nice inside move. Plays well in the run game. He fights blocks. Always gets to the ball carrier. He's an elite run defender, which I think's a bit undersold. I really like his motor. I want to see him win more on the edge one-on-one. I question his speed to the corner and trying to a lot of these guys didn't have that speed or that bend to get to the corner and beat tackles.
Ran 4.58 though.
Yeah, ran 4.58. That's more a 3-cone thing, I think. Being able to get to the corner, turn, bend, and get around. It's very hard to do. Of course, I've been ruined by watching Von Miller for 10 years, and I have high expectations.
Set that bar pretty high, I guess.
He did have a little spin move. I, of course, like Johnson a lot more than Walker. I do like his first step. Bull rushes a bunch. I'd like to see more hand fighting out of him. Of course, he can learn all that stuff. Moves around well, nice quickness. And I think he's a little bit better than Walker and even Tipene in this regards. My thinking is...
So you're speaking pretty highly of a guy that's just gone 26 overall, saying that you think you like him better than a number one and a number five.
It might be
pick.
scheme fit as well, because I see him more as a 4-3 defensive end. As in... he's probably not going to be like a big 5 tech like the Richard Seymour. This is what my comparison that I've been thinking about all night. So I don't see him as like that kind of guy. I see him more as what your traditional 4-3 end looks like. Playing, he potentially come in and play more on the 4 and 3 technique as well, rushing inside and then bouncing outside. More like Taylor that played for the Dolphins back in the day, 6'6". Jason Taylor. More as like that end kind of rusher guy. That's what I see. Johnson. So I really like the pick. Love what Jets are doing. That's a good add to their defense.
Agree 100%. New York Jets fans should be pretty happy, I think, getting 3 guys in the first round there. And interesting, like we were comparing him to the number 1 pick overall in Trayvon Walker, he's actually got the output to back it up. His numbers this year for Florida State: Seminoles, 70 tackles total, 7.5 for loss, 11.5 sacks. That's something that the number 1 pick overall doesn't have, on his resume. So... well done, New York Jets. I think they've drafted pretty well here in the first round.
Yeah, I think that's a good get. Potentially, maybe there's something in the medical of that, and that's why he slid. Again, stuff we don't know to the point where he's got to the 20 spot. Stuff will come out in the coming days. But really, besides that, from what you see on tape, excellent. So I'm very happy for the Jets there. So interesting here, the Buccaneers, I believe, had this pick, pick number 27. They've traded that with the Jags, so I'm assuming he'll come up from 33, come up 6 spots to get a guy. Now, they of course took Walker, as mentioned. We still said they probably could do with some more wide receiver help. They could do with inside offensive line. Defensive line, potentially, maybe with Johnson going there, they want to come up and get someone like George that we keep talking about. Inside linebacker still available, safety help. They could add to the front 7 of their defense quite easily. They could use a lot of help.
I think inside linebacker Devin Lloyd here makes a lot of sense for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
So who have they skipped? They've skipped over the Packers and the Chiefs. Who else besides the Chiefs? Because Chiefs traded one. The Patriots are there. So they've skipped the Patriots.
They've jumped Packers, Patriots, Chiefs, Bengals, Vikings.
Pats have moved down. I had wide receiver inside. They have defensive line needs as well. Packers, we said, potentially had defensive line needs. I think with Johnson going, maybe this could be George.
I think Devin Lloyd makes a lot of sense here. Lost Joe Schubert, who was their middle linebacker.
They do have the other Josh Allen that plays in the linebacker.
On the outside linebacker, they're fine. True. I think inside is fine. I think they threw that much money at Christian Kirk.
I'm an idiot. George not going here. They've already got Walker. Why would you get George? You basically got 2 bookends then. But they could do that, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think that makes too much sense.
I think skipping the Packers potentially means wide receiver, and they'd take Watson.
Possibly. You throw that much money at Christian Kirk. Do you want to draft a wide receiver as well?
Who else is playing wide receiver for them?
That's a good question. They did lose DJ Shark.
Yeah, I think they've got Marvin Jones there.
Marvin Jones, and they brought in Zay Jones from Oakland.
True.
So that's 3 wide receivers there. Laviska Shenault they've got. I don't think they go wide receiver here.
Laviska Shenault's been unders though.
They brought in Evan Ingram from the Giants. Yeah, I don't think they go receiving option here.
Yeah, but why do you skip the Packers though? Why you come up?
I don't know. Maybe they just think the Packers aren't going to take a wide receiver because it's the fucking Packers.
Yeah, true. Yeah, maybe they're worried the Packers are going to take more linebackers. Possibly. I wouldn't be surprised if that is what they do. As we like to say,
Aaron Rodgers the most hated man in Green Bay
most hated man by Green Bay.
Everyone else, obviously in Wisconsin and the Milwaukee area, love Green Bay except for the management at the Green Bay Packers.
They could add a corner here potentially.
Who have you got on your board?
Booth and Gordon are the last two that haven't gone corner wise. Hill actually still available as a safety. Seen as well as a safety. They could add a safety. I had that as a
Hey, that's not a bad shout here. This is our current secondary. Darius Williams and Shaquille Griffin are the corners. Rayshawn Jenkins and Andrew Wingard at safety. None of those guys are elite at their position. Yeah. That's a pretty good shout.
Jack's going to add players anywhere, but let's say secondary and let's say there's some good safety prospects there.
Goodell is on the stand. The 27th pick is in. Devin Lloyd. There we go. Yeah. We're getting a few things right here. All right, so Devin Lloyd, Utah Utes. A lot of people had him kind of top 15.
You were all over this one, baby.
A lot of people had him as the best inside linebacker in this draft class. 6'2", 237, prototypical size for an inside linebacker in the NFL. Any thoughts as to why he slid this far down?
Maybe the speed, the 40, the 4.66, a little bit unders. Depends on what you want him to do as an inside linebacker. I had him here as your traditional, strong side, like inside linebacker. Mm-hmm. Like he plays a 3-4 because he's massive. Like he's 6'3", almost 240. So he's a big inside linebacker, can take on blocks, gets all the blocks really well. He blitzes well. He gets sacks, which is quite impressive. He had 8 sacks last year. Sorry, I keep losing my spot.
No, you're right.
So, like I said, looks like a classic strong side inside linebacker. He is in Micah Parsons, and this is why I think some of the linebackers have slid. If you look at last year's class, Parsons was a head above. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's fast enough, and I've written that there, and they probably are going to agree to that. His midfield to sideline speed is a bit pedestrian. But besides that, he has great vision, a great feel for the plays. He's always around the ball, which you love from inside linebacker. My concern is he going to be more a two down back than a 3 down linebacker? But I love his run support. I love seeing him come downhill. That's where he really excels. Don't think he's going to be able to cover tight ends across the middle. That's where he'll struggle, especially those athletic guys. But he's a good tackler, wraps up well. Surprisingly, a converted wide receiver. So
yeah, crazy, isn't it, for a guy to go from wide receiver to inside linebacker? The comparison there that's just come up on the screen, Fred Warner, that's a pretty good bloke to be compared to.
I think Fred Warner's a better runner, though. So that's my biggest concern is how he's going to transition from Utah to the NFL level and whether he'll be a step too slow or not. So, the slower linebackers usually make up for being slower with their mental capability. As in understanding plays, putting yourself a step ahead so you can be in the right gap and the right assignment to make plays. So by all accounts, he's a smart football player. He's got big enough size to be a force in the run game. We'll have to see what that looks like going forward for the Jags. But, yeah, the Jags had Walker and Lloyd, not my favourite guys for them to add, but let's see if they can turn that defense around.
It's not that long ago.
Football Jesus doesn't get any help, but
no, but
they spent
and they got Travis Etienne last year. They spent
money.
They spent on Christian Kirk and Zay Jones.
Yeah.
So
help that D. Keep them in close games so Lawrence can hopefully win.
And it wasn't that long ago that we were talking about Saxonville and this elite defense, which shined bright for just a few years and then
fizzled. Well, they had one big year and then
fizzled very hard since then.
Well, you trade them all away, that's what happens.
I suppose so. I think I like Devin Lloyd here for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think he slid. I think they've done well picking up him with pick 27.
Yeah. So, for you,
Packers.
How much do the Packers hate Aaron Rodgers?
They've
got Watson. Watson is still there. I think he's a great MVS replacement. He's not an Adams replacement.
No.
But he's an MVS replacement.
Who could be an Adams replacement, especially being the 7th wide receiver on this list? I tell you what, Sean, my bladder is that full. I need to hang on here and
get the Packers pick.
and get this Packers pick in. Do you want to cover the rest of it? I think.
Yeah, well, we've only got 4 to go. We're almost done.
You'll just have to do some bullshit as I run away for a wee after this pick. Okay. Yes,
it might be perfect timing. You might not be. They'll probably take quarterback here, and it'd be perfect time to leave and go for a wee.
Yeah, go for a wee, a spew, and smash a mirror or something. Nah, I don't think that's going to happen. But anyways, let's have a look at who we have available here. Obviously, Watson being the big wide receiver still left on the board. Christian Watson, Sky Moore perhaps could be a play here.
Yeah.
It's got to be wide receiver, doesn't it?
You think so? Otherwise, it'd be maybe defensive line like George. We keep talking about Dean still available. They were very highly rated. Let's see who else. Jackson Hill still available.
Interesting seeing Nakobe Dean slide as far as he has slid. The Georgia standout, obviously we were talking a little bit before about does he have that prototypical size to play inside linebacker in the NFL?
Let me put it to you this way. There's a lot more good available defensive talent than there is wide receivers. Let's put it that way. So
you're getting kind of deep here.
Yeah.
I think they've got to make a play at a guy like Debo. Sammy Watkins, he showed a little bit earlier on in his career. He was a high draft pick, but I don't think he is the long-time solution there in Green Bay. Anyways, the pick is in. We've got Goodell going out there, and it looks like Andrew Whitworth going out there as well.
He's on the screen a minute ago. So
yes. 40-year-old man who just won himself a Super Bowl, long-time Cincinnati Bengals tackle, and winning one with the Rams.
Green Bay does need offensive line talent. They did lose a few guys, but I think all the good guys are gone, unfortunately. Like there's not really. I don't have all my inside line guys are gone. I've only got Bernard Ramian as my last tackle available, and he's very much actually he's a right tackle, and you did lose Billy Turner, so potentially that could be your right tackle replacement.
It could be Billy Turner.
I'm not a huge fan of his arm length.
And Billy Turner probably not an elite lineman. We saw him come along actually in the last 2 years.
Probably helped with that quick release from time to pass, snap to pass from Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
it probably
indeed,
helps you out a little bit.
Anyways, Whitworth is up there on the stand. He is going to let us know Green Bay's second pick in quick succession.
Matt Corral.
After just
Desmond Ridder.
No, I don't think any of that is happening, Sean.
Let's hope not. For your sanity.
All right, here we go.
They could do with a Kevin King upgrade, but
I don't think they need that.
That's a luxury, is what I'm saying. They need wide receivers. That's not a luxury.
Jair Alexander and Eric Stokes.
You traded Devontae Adams. You've got a first round for him. This is the pick. Like, what are you going to pick for him?
After 6 guys have gone,
Trayvon Walker, who also played for Denver. 20 years since they picked a wide receiver. They're going to finally break the streak.
Christian Watson. I don't know. I think it has to be Christian Watson.
It makes too much sense.
Too much sense. It's too crazy. It just might not happen.
We said that about, and then they picked Jordan Love. So made too much sense to add a wide receiver.
This is absolutely killing me. Whitworth, come on, man.
I think Watson's a good MVS replacement. So for Scanling.
Obviously, a lot of love for Andrew Whitworth as well. From the Rams fans there. Whitworth isn't going to read the pick. Goodell will read the pick. Who knows what the fuck he just said, because we are watching it on mute.
Something empowering and important.
Here we go. Packers select with the 28th overall pick of the 2022 NFL Draft another defensive player, Devontae White. Hey, Devontae White, we were talking about
Georgia.
Georgia, that nasty Georgia front seven. He's going to go join.
It's a good ad. It doesn't matter though, because the perception is you still hate Aaron Rodgers. It's like
that is you
didn't even pick. Like, it's not even offensive talent. Like, it's all defense.
That is
you're just assuming that Aaron Rodgers is. Well, maybe that's the play. Is like, well, Aaron Rodgers is going to get us to the conference championship game against the 49ers. We're going to have to play good defense. So
Debo Samuel, answer your phone. Answer your phone, Debo. Please, as a Packers fan from down under, answer your phone. Hey, Devontae Wyatt, he's no slouch. He will join his former running mate in Quay Walker there. Again, as a Packers fan, you would think maybe some offensive skill position.
Would be useful. Maybe
yeah,
helpful.
Would be useful. But hey.
Who's Aaron Rodgers going to throw to, Tonya?
Me at this stage.
Yeah. Packers call us up. Peps is free. He's got a couple of months he can play
and I break my spine on the first play. It's spinal. Speaking of, I'm about to break my bladder, Sean. I'll be as quick as you can. I hope you can carry the team for a minute.
I'll give some measurables on White while you're gone.
So. That sounds good. Measurables, and don't shit on Green Bay's selections too much whilst I'm...
Well, he had the same amount of sacks, I think, as Walker did this year.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So, White, 6'3", 304, maybe a little bit undersized for a defensive tackle for Packers who play a 3-4, but we'll see. Did run the 4.77, very quick, as did Jordan Davis. So, good size. I want to see more pass race out of him, of course. I think if he's going to be a 3-tech, like defensive tackle inside, I think he needs more pass rush moves to be explosive. But, of course... he's 40 pounds lighter than Davis. Moves work better than Davis. He generates their stunts, of course. Davis doesn't really stunt. They stunt around him, which seems obvious when you think about their two body shapes. He had a bit of a spin move, which was nice to see. He did come off of his passing downs. There's a bit of rotation. They get Carter out there a fair bit to rotate with him and Davis to keep him fresh. Again, too much talent at Georgia. Probably affected their production a little bit. He fights through their box well. He's got good power. I really like his power. He does get taken out of the play more than I like in comparing to some of the other guys. And when I say that, he gets blocked out and then kind of just gets stonewalled and doesn't really move much. He does have a good push, shows good power. I just think he needs, again, more hand fighting, be more physical, be more violent to get to win, and especially be more consistent in one-on-one battles. Again, not sure he's a 4.477 player when he plays on the field. And, bit to add there. He's not as violent with his hands as said. I'd like to see him hand fight more. Needs to learn that. Hopefully the Packers can bring that to him. One thing I really do like is he bats down the fuck down the balls. A bit of JJ Watt in there swatting down the balls. But otherwise, good. Shows good awareness. Stacks as well. Gets involved in the run game, which you'd like to see from a defensive tackle, and like most of the guys in this class, had a really good motor, very efficient, keeps going, keeps chugging along. So overall, a good prospect. Not sure scheme and strategy-wise the best thing for the Packers to do, but a solid prospect to add there for Georgia. From Georgia for Packers.
Thank you there, Sean, for carrying the team whilst I went to go get out 2 Red Bulls and 6 beers. I feel much better. Not that surprising, really. All right, New England is up next. We are into the last 4 picks of the first round.
Do you know what's the funniest shit's going to be, Peps?
What?
Is the Patriots are going to take Watson right here.
Well, they need a wide receiver, don't they?
Yeah, they were very run heavy and tight and heavy last year, and who have they added at wide receiver? Can you bring up their depth chart?
Yeah, I'll do it
because
now.
I think Neal's basically done with them. I'm not sure they're real happy with that. So I think wide receiver makes a lot of sense for them. That was their biggest need I had there. Inside
Devontae Parker.
That's the big trade.
And Kendrick Bourne. They had him last year.
A bit of a smaller guy. So.
And Jacoby
Parker's
Myers.
a big, good ad, so that's a good ad.
Yeah. Look, they've got a lot of mid-tier wide receivers. They just don't have an elite wide receiver. Yeah.
Could add to that room. Otherwise, I had inside offensive line, so guard or center potentially. A lot of those guys are gone, so maybe not. D-line, and George is still sitting there, and they do like to play 3-4 there. He kind of fits that mold. He fits that mold of a 5 technique, something that the Patriots do like. So I'm thinking Watson or George for them. Dean's still available, but I think they're okay. They've got Hightower and that still, don't they? Oh, they got Mac Wilson. I really like Mac Wilson coming across from Bengals. The Bengals gave up on him, in my opinion. I really like him.
No Hightail. Did he retire? If only we had our resident Patriot fan.
He was in the chat earlier.
Mixema here. Donta Hightail. He's a free agent. They do not have Donta.
Not really. Well,
Hightail.
depending what they do here, they might need to resign him. So there's still a fair few really good guys on the list. Let me run through. Gone. So the first one we've probably got left available is George, as we mentioned, Daxton Hill, safety.
And the pig is in. They've gone guard Cole Strange out of Chattanooga.
Well, we did say they needed inside offensive line help. I didn't have any stats on him because I didn't have him in my top 50. So
this is a very Belichick thing to do, isn't it?
Pick the guy you want. So, good athleticism. We've got good grades for athleticism. Maybe not so much production. Small school, not as well known. But hey, we said it a minute ago. They need inside offensive line help, and they've got a guard there. Help Mac Jones potentially throw some balls to Parker this season.
What is this school? University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. They're not in
FBS.
I don't think so.
Well, he said the thingy that scrolled across the screen said he set an FBS record, so maybe are they an independent? No, FCS. FCS, there you go. They're fourth in FCS, whatever that is.
Yes, that's 1A. That's below the bowl.
Yeah, there you go.
So not in the top flight. So that's our first player to come out of not being Division 1A.
Yeah, Patriots reaching for a guy they want.
It's pretty Belichick-like. We did highlight their need to fill some kind of void in that interior offensive line. I think they must be happy with that bunch of wide receivers that they've got, whilst none of them being elite, are all sort of proven mediocre guys in the NFL. So they're going to provide some extra oomph to block for Damian Harris and the like there, and to protect Mac Jones. The Chiefs are up, pick 30.
What did they pick before? Because Watson's... there's George.
George Karlaftis, Purdue.
Love that for them.
Yeah. He's kind of slid a little bit here. Yep. What did you have out of the Purdue Boilermaker, who physically seems like a presence and is another edge rusher to go in this first round?
What I find interesting, though, is... the teams that traded away wide receivers have not replaced them.
Yeah, very interesting.
So maybe coming, to that factory of that's a more of a position we can fill out later. Especially this class is deep. We're only talking about Watson is in the 8, but past that, there's still plenty of options available in the second through the 7th round. So you can add options there. Whereas, getting elite pass rushers and getting elite talent is more of a challenge. So I just thought it was interesting. No, for him, 6'4" and a bit, 266, a little bit undersized with the arm length of 32 inches. Did have a 40 at 4.78, which is not too bad. But the main thing is big, strong. I think he definitely is going to be a defensive end than an outside linebacker. What I really love is he fights through blocks, good motor, always gets involved in the run game. His first step is really good. It's much quicker than his competition because he played at Purdue. He's got good closing speed and does get to the corner and turns well. Had a good sack numbers as well. But the main thing, and you put the tape on, you might not get the sack numbers, but he gets the hits on quarterbacks constantly. He's always hitting the quarterback. Which I love. He's got SWAT. He swats balls down. He has swim moves, spin moves, and the main thing is when I talk about it like a Ravens or Steelers gritty type of player, he comes to play. He's here to play football. That's not a sack, but he's always hitting the quarterback.
Yeah.
So he was definitely a problem in college. It'll be interesting to see how he goes with better competition, and that step up, and whether that's going to be an issue or not. But he's relentless. Motor's great, physical force. He's definitely at his best when he was playing left end. Good hand fighter. My comparison is he reminds me a bit of Cam Jordan.
That's a good person to be compared to. Remember earlier how I said that I thought that might be a Greek surname? Not as only is it a Greek surname, this guy lived his first 13 years of his life in Greece.
There you go.
So we just had some footage there of him playing on the Greek water polo team at an under 16 level.
Was that
and then came across and played at Purdue. Interesting pick here. I don't hate it here from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Not at all. 14 quarterback hits in 2021. That tied second most. So, yeah, like I said, he hits the quarterback, he gets sacks. He is a high effort motor kind of guy. Like maybe even Derek Wolfe is a bit of a comparison there. Like they're good guys that are going to get involved in the run game, going to make stops for you, and then also going to be a pain in the ass for quarterbacks. So they maybe won't sack you, but you're going to get hit constantly, and you're going to hate them playing them on a week in, week out basis. So good pick. I like that from the Chiefs.
His pedigree is pretty elite here in terms of an athletic family. Yeah, his late father, was a javelin thrower at the University of Miami. And also his brother Yanni won a judo world championship as well, and also played on Purdue's football team as a linebacker. So athleticism obviously running in the Karlaftis family.
So now we're going to the Bengals for the second last pick in the first round. Needs for them, I had offensive line, whether they...
Yes.
Yeah, they definitely need to add something in that space, but a lot of guys are gone, so I'm not sure whether they target that. Linebacker, because they did get rid of Wilson, I think traded him or he was re-signed elsewhere. So linebacker, Dean maybe here, or Harris potentially, or they need cornerback. That was the other big issue they had in the Super Bowl. Is they got beat up at the cornerback position. But I'm not sure if maybe Booth for them. I think Booth was Clemson, so Booth or Gordon were the two kind of cornerbacks left. So if it's not offensive line, maybe help out in the secondary a little bit. Hill's still available. He can play a bit of. I think Hill could, of the safeties, Hill could probably play a bit of cornerback.
I think that's a really good shout in Daxton Hill. They're also, I don't know, they've got Von Bell and Jesse Bates who are pretty elite. Obviously, Eli Apple, a lot of memes coming around on him getting picked on in the playoffs.
His Super Bowl stats weren't great, so that's why people think corner.
Do you think Daxton Hill could play corner, given that he played safety in college?
Well, he played a lot of slot DB. He was basically a nickel corner for Michigan. That's where he played. He played that a lot more than he did safety. So I think he's got enough physical attributes to then play as a potential nickel corner. In
his
NFL.
brother is Justice Hill, who's at Baltimore running back.
Yep.
Interesting. Do you want to just double check that we are live? Because this Wikipedia says that he is a current player for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, we're out live. We could be delayed slightly. Someone could be beating us to it. Someone could beat us to it on Twitter as well.
Wikipedia, they come through quick, man. Yeah, live. Look, check it out. Go live now.
I clicked on it. No, that was live. It's
okay. All right. I think we're a little bit delayed. I think Daxton Hill has just been picked by the Cincinnati Bengals, which is interesting. We're just talking about him. Check the Twitter. That's generally the first place to find it out. Yeah. Elon Musk running that ship now. $44 billion, if you don't mind, to buy Twitter this week. Probably been living under a rock if you didn't hear about that this week.
Sorry, I just saw a tweet from Lamar Jackson. It just says, "What the fuck."
No, Lamar tweeted that.
Yeah. Well, he just traded away his only wide receiver,
didn't help him out. Look, I love Lamar, but I don't know if that's the best look.
Well, he wants to be a quarterback, not a running back. So
I guess, he wants guys to throw the ball to.
Can't see anything on the pick. Usually people are a little bit better now.
I know, it just says Wikipedia, Cincinnati Bengals.
I wonder what Aaron Rodgers was doing.
Daxton Hill.
He was on the McAfee podcast where the, two defensive players. Let's see how he goes with that. I have to watch it back and see if he was left, for fuck's sake. I think we're pretty close to the live, unless someone's leaked.
How can you leak? Family?
Well, no, the Bengals call it, and then the family just jumps in and updates his Wikipedia for it.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if it's
We're about to find out. Goodell at the stand, the 31st pick of the first round of the 2022 NFL Draft, Daxton Hill, Michigan.
There we go.
Yeah, that's a weird one. We think we might be live. I don't know, maybe if this TV's on a minute or two delay.
What the fuck was that?
I've got no idea. We've got some background noise happening here. Okay, Daxton Hill. Sean, what do you know about him? That's another Michigan defender to go. We've seen a very, very heavy defensive kind of first round
some of the
here.
news stories are quite funny. I was just trying to. I was just checking the tracker because the tracker would be it's more up to date than we are. So if it's got the 32 pick in there, we're done essentially. Anyway,
as Sean chases up the 32nd pick, which is
the pick is coming in,
which is the Minnesota Vikings.
We're not that far behind.
I think that's a leak. That has to be a leak. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, someone knows something. Because pick is in. So the broadcast is probably maybe 30 seconds behind where their league knows, and then you see people on phones and stuff, and see what happens.
Came through quick. What are your notes on Daxton Hill?
Mr. Hill, 6 foot, 191, ran a 4.38.
Woo, that's fast. Okay, so definitely no question marks around his ability to play corner.
Yeah, and listen to this 3-cone, 6.57.
You're joking. Okay, all right. That is elite
good
agility.
So good enough size, maybe a tad slow, but a tad short, sorry. His vert is odd. He only had a 33.5-inch vert. For
a cornerback.
Over 10 foot broad, so pretty good. Played a lot of slot, great recovery speed, quick feet, nice drop back, strong and fights off blocks from wide receivers, definitely to get involved in the running game. Looks physical, delivers hits, wraps up well. And I said here, really a solid DB, maybe a better slot corner than safety. I, of course, love his versatility, plays fast. He reminds me a bit of Kareem Jackson. That was my comparison.
Okay, yeah.
Start at corner, maybe ends up being more of a deep half safety later in his career. Mm-hmm. But deadly as a blitzer, which added a bit of a bonus there for the Michigan team, considering they had Hutchinson.
He get a few sacks, did he, coming off from the nickel?
Definitely from the nickel. So, and really he had very close in-step coverage playing on the nickel. So, I think he can play corner more than a safety at that spot. So that's a good pick from the Bengals. I like that.
And the pick is in for the Minnesota Vikings. They've
moved down heaps. They started at 12, and this is their first pick.
Yeah, so they haven't taken anyone.
They've moved down heaps and picked up a bunch of picks, I believe, in the process. So still for them, defensive line, secondary is old, so they could add some secondary or inside offensive line. I think you'd be reaching for offensive line at this point. Defensive line-wise, there's a bunch of outside linebacker kind of talent you could pick. Otherwise, secondary, Booth and Gordon we've talked about. I like Scene here. Cyril Scene from Georgia for safety for these guys.
Yeah, they've obviously got Harrison Smith. Their free safety is Cameron Bynum. Don't know too much about him. Patrick Peterson getting on. We did speak earlier about them adding Zadarius Smith over from the Packers.
And Scene is a true free safety, so that could be you get the pair, put him next to Harris Smith and see where you go from there. You
can't imagine that they need wide receivers. You can't imagine that they need running backs. They just paid big money to re-sign Kirk Cousins. They signed Christian Darrisaw in the first round last year. Maybe a little bit more offensive line help, but I agree. I do think this pick probably comes on the defensive side of the ball. Whether or not that's
Xavier Woods and was a loss for them.
Losing Xavier Woods, so maybe looking to replace someone in the secondary there. A lot of Vikings fans out there, face painted, got the Viking horns on, bit of a skull. Viking clap going on. They tend to be some of the most passionate fans in the NFL.
So the other safety they've got here is Jalen Petrie, who could be the But he, again, was more of if Daxton Hill was a slot DB, he was more of a slot DB run defender.
Okay, hybrid kind of guy.
Yeah, like he was more playing in the front seven than he was dropping into coverage from what I watched. So, but he's got elite pressure in that. So he's the other safety, potentially rated higher than a lot of people had for Cyril. But I also liked seeing a lot more overall. Booth's still out there. Gordon was still on that list. Dean, of course.
They don't really need an inside linebacker, I wouldn't think. In Eric Kendricks is pretty elite. They've got Jordan Hicks as well.
Yep.
Both pretty good inside linebackers. So that's a big shock here from draft day with Nakobe Dean slipping out of the first round.
It's got to be size dependent. That's the only reason. He's got elite tape. I really like him. I think he'll get picked early next round. That's for sure.
All right, our draft companion is about to come to an end with the last pick of the first round. Goodell on the stand there, the Minnesota Vikings, obviously dropping down a fair bit to get this 32nd pick. We're thinking maybe helping out the secondary, and they do. Lewis Seen, is it?
Yeah,
Seen. Another Georgia Bulldog defender to go in the first round. That's been a bunch. Is that 5 Georgia defenders to go in that first round? I'll double check.
3 defensive linemen, 1 linebacker,
I
and
think
the
it's
safety.
5.
Yeah,
5. Unreal for the Dogs. Sean, your notes, please, on Lewis Seen.
Well, I think they've done him dirty on the athleticism score there of 79 because at 6'2", 200 pounds, around a 4.37. 11 foot 1 inch broad, 37
that's
inches
a
on
huge
the
broad jump.
Yeah, so for a safety, as a true free safety, prototypical size, perfect size. Great range, covers ground in a hurry as you do. Strong tackler, big and physical. Force when he comes down, supports the run game really well. Maybe not the most elite coverage guy. That needs work. Did play a lot of man-to-man situations, but a true centre fielder, I think, is kind of the main point that I wanted to make. Of all the safety guys, he was the main one that was in the back of the secondary, making plays there. So, this is maybe the reason why he's viewed low as a true centre fielder that coverage needs a bit of work, but he's got all the measurables. If you want a guy to help and run support, he's your man. So I said of the 4, I'd take him. Maybe needs to add 10 pounds, get to that 2 to 10 range because he's very lean in the legs.
Yeah,
but yeah,
listed at 199. I'm sure he'll be fine. Chucking on that little bit of exercise.
Yeah. 5 go. 2 of them, of course, go to Green Bay. So there you go.
Testament to the Georgia Bulldogs and the year that they've had. 5 of their starting defenders going, and not Nakobe Dean, which you'd imagine gets picked up tomorrow by someone. Yes. Anything further to add, Shauno?
Well, let's pull up the tracker here in a second and check it out. I think they're finishing, don't they now? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's it for tonight. That's it for tonight.
Yeah, I thought that was the case. Just they put it up on the day. So no running backs.
No running backs. Just the one quarterback in Kenny Pickett. Malik Willis slides through to day 2.
Yeah, and the rest of them. Let's have a look.
It was 2013, I think, was the last time that we saw just one quarterback go in the first round. That was EJ Manuel to the Buffalo Bills.
So Dean was still on the board.
Yep. Nakobe Dean still on the board.
He's probably the highest, unfortunately, the highest rated that I've got. They've gone. And then we get into the outside linebackers that didn't go. Willis that didn't go, the running backs. Booth was still there. Harris, and then we're into the 40s. So I think a lot of the guys that we thought would go have gone. And then there's, the guys that potentially could have snuck from second round didn't, and they're sitting there ready to go. So, we'll have to see. So if we, I'm going to close that. Let's get I had it open a second ago. Let's get the tracker up. I just want to get the tracker up, and I just want to see if we had quick thoughts on teams, winners and losers.
Well, I think off the top of their head, the Jets that they picked up 3 players. That they got Sauce Gardner, who, although he went 4th, I think is the best cornerback in the NFL. Obviously, Stingley going
In the NFL, jeez.
Sorry,
In the draft.
In the draft class.
I know what you meant. I'm confused.
In the draft class, I think they did very, very well there. Obviously, when you get 3 picks in the first round, you'd want to do well. Garrett Wilson, a lot of people had him consensus number 1 wide receiver, picking him up. They did a good job there. And who was?
And then Johnson was the third one.
That's right, Zion, not Zion Johnson,
Jeremy Johnson the second.
That's right.
Yeah, defensive end. So yeah, great.
Jermaine Johnson.
Jermaine, sorry. Yeah, I think the Jags. Slightly head scratcher. They hope Walker turns into what they want, and then they traded back in.
Yeah, high ceiling but unproven.
Yeah, and then they traded back in to get Lloyd.
Devin Lloyd. I think that's a great pick. I think that's at 27 there. Yep.
None of the teams that didn't have first round picks tried to trade in, so they all didn't make picks. So Broncos, Browns, Bears, 49ers, Bucks. No, Bucks had a pick they traded out, and Raiders. I mean, the guys that didn't have one of them, they didn't try to get back in. What did the Lions do? They got Hutchinson and they traded back up to get someone else. Williams, I really like that. I really like what the Lions did. That was good.
I think the Lions have done really well there, getting Jameson, Williams and Aidan Hutchinson.
Yeah. Still not a huge fan of the Steelers pick of Kenny Pickett.
I don't mind it.
Yeah, for them, I think it's probably okay. I think the Packers picks probably made sense. Probably more a head scratcher from the perception of the media and all that. That's all they're going to talk about for the next week. Of course, they hate Aaron Rodgers.
Of course, but you look at that wide receiving core, and look, Alan Lazard's not bad. Randall Cobb's not bad. Sammy Watkins is not bad. But you lose a guy like Devontae Adams, you'd think...
Who's your number one?
Yeah, interesting there. I hope they make a play at Deebo Samuel.
So who else kind of had good, multiple picks? I think Kansas City did well enough. I liked that they picked George as well.
Along with Trent McDuffie, the cornerback.
The corner, yes. Houston, Green, and Stingley. Stingley, we'll have to wait and see. Going 3, I think, is
big. Yeah, there was a lot of overs. Not many people had him going
especially
in
over
the top
Sauce.
5. Yeah.
They obviously didn't like Sauce. I do like what the Giants did as well. They had a quiet night after their picks at 5 and 7.
Yeah, but Thibodeau and Evan Neal, 2 elite guys on either side of the trench there. I like what Philly did, getting Jordan Davis at 13, and obviously the big bombshell trade with AJ Brown going to the city of brotherly love.
Ravens, where was their second pick?
Well, they picked up Kyle Hamilton to start off with.
And then Tyler. I like the Tyler pick more than I do Hamilton. But we'll see how that plays out. So I think, surprisingly, a lot of trades in that in the teens. A lot of guys moving around, and then in the 20s. So I missed to say it in the intro, but I was expecting a lot of trades, maybe not in the first 10 because it's a bit hard to move. These guys probably wanted to move back, but they made picks. A few shockers in there, a few head scratchers. But overall, I think the 32 guys that went probably all deserving to go. The Patriots probably had the biggest, what we consider a reach, doing a very Patriots thing, picking a guy they wanted.
Cole Strange, yeah.
So that was probably the biggest one that was like, oh, okay, that's a head scratcher from expectations. But hey, Patriots, they have won a lot of football games, and Bill
tends to know what he's doing.
Exactly. So we'll see what that looks like going forward. But I think that's the NFL draft for this year, 2022.
Thank you very much, Sean, for joining me here. We are on the Esky, an Australian sports podcast. We love our NFL, but we also cover other sports. Looking forward to seeing how the rest of this draft unfolds. You'd expect some running backs. Malik Willis will be a big talking point to go on Friday night. Yep. We will have our regular podcast on Sunday afternoon to cover all things sport, and join the Delhi Capitals Sunday evening to talk some IPL.
Correct. Any more NFL news we'll cover there for the rounds. Yep. But thank you all for those that tuned in and listened. Thank you for putting up with our internet struggles.
Yes.
To start with, it was fine after we switched over and got it all going again. So fuck you, James's internet.
I'm Peppy. Sean's on my left. Thank you to those that have tuned in. Please check us out on YouTube. Consider giving us a subscription, and we're on the socials, a little bit quiet, et cetera, et cetera.
Go Pack.
Go Pack.
Go Denver. Let's ride.
Let's go. See you next time.
See ya.